Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time once again. It's XRRL's Racing League here at Singapore for the 7th round in the first series. And today is going to be a very interesting day because regardless of whatever happens on track today, it looks like your series points leader, Danny JJA02, is not going to be able to show up for today's event. With that in mind, it gives drivers like Ryan Hurricane a chance to make up some ground and bring the championship fight back to life. Real quickly, though, we're going to go ahead and run down the list of everyone who is showing up to run in today's event. In the Mercedes team, it's going to be Level 6 BCN and XRRL Steel, while in the Scuderia Ferrari, it's Mr. Anderson and Ryan Hurricane. In the Aston Martin Red Bull team, it's Kinsey Retro and Collie Boy. In the McLaren F1 team, it's going to be XRLO and XRL Torpedo. For the Renault team, it's going to be James John and Smoothie25. In the Tracing Point, it's going to be XRL Zola and Higgs. Boss on and on and on and on and on and on. In the Alfa Romeo team, it's going to be Trap Paulos and XRL Wax. In the Haas F1 team, they'll be represented by Elfin Starfish 19 and Pinkwo. And the Williams team will be represented by XRL Ultimate and MCR Path, while it is Dave Ewart who is currently representing the AlphaTauri Honda team. So anyways, right now there may be one more driver who will attempt to show up before we get too far into this, but we're looking at a 19-car grid, which would actually be extremely nice. For those of you who missed the race last week it was a complete cluster all the way through. We saw drivers getting involved in instant after instant after instant all day long. And although most of the incidents were single car, in the end of the event, we only had 10 of our 20 starters running at the end of the race. So that was at Albert Park, and Albert Park isn't considered to be a very difficult track. Now we're at Singapore, and Singapore is, without a doubt, one of the most difficult tracks on the entirety of the Formula One circuit. So with that in mind, we are looking at a scenario where we could see drivers not being able to finish the race and missing out on points. We might not even see the top 10 spots all get points awarded because only drivers who complete 90% of the race or more will get points awarded to them at the end of the event. Right now, everyone's beginning to ready up and we're preparing to load onto the circuit here at Singapore, which has basically become Asia's version of the Grand Prix of Monaco here. Stand by for the moment. We're just waiting on the last few drivers to properly ready up. And here we are loading onto the circuit properly now. Real quickly, while we're waiting on everything to get underway, we're going to go ahead and run you through the current point standings within XRRL at the moment. The first person on the list that we need to take note of is currently the last person when it comes to the point standings. It is the drivers of Elfin Starfish, PPR Venom, Collie Boy, and Abiti. None of them have earned any points yet. They really need to get that turned around. 16th in the point standings is Smoothie25. He still has 3 points. Level 6 BCN has 5 points in the Mercedes, while Mr. Anderson has 9 points in the Scuderia Ferrari. James John has earned 12 points in the Renault, while Young Maneuver earned those 18 points early on in the season, but hasn't appeared very often to do much of anything on track. 11th in the point standings is Kinsey Retro at 25. He was hurt really badly with that early race DNF and finishing last week. 10th in the points is MCR Path and Williams. He has 28 points, and he's just 5 off of XRL Steel, who has 33 points in his Mercedes. The other Williams of Ultimate has 38 points, 1 off of XRL Low in the McLaren. Then you have the 2 Alfa Romeo drivers. XRL Wax has 43 points, while Hazel has 53. Pinkwo is 4th in the point standings. He has 57 points. XRL Zola is 3rd. He has 78 points in the Tracing Point. And then Ryan Hurricane has 107 points, while Danny JJA02 has 124. And again, Danny is not showing up for today's event. With that in mind, this means that the championship points battle might close down a bit between Danny and Ryan Hurricane for this event. See drivers already beginning to make their way out onto the circuit right now. The first one to get onto the track is going to be a Haas machine, and that is Elfin Starfish, who's already going through the technical sections here at the early parts of Sector 1. And this circuit, despite being a street circuit, it really leans hard into the very unique ebbs and flows that Singapore's layout actually has. There are your traditional aggravating 90-degree and nearly 90-degree corners throughout, but there are still a lot of interesting little setups. Despite that, a lot of little, not quite chicanes, but not quite corners spread throughout the circuit. It's very narrow, not quite as narrow as Monaco, but it's definitely a very, very worthy challenge for drivers around here. Just getting a clean lap here is hard enough. Keeping a clean, fast lap here is going to be even harder. Already we see about 4 drivers who are out onto the circuit, but right now we're following Elfin Starfish, who is the first driver to get out onto the circuit. A little bit farther back is Collie Boy. Here they go over the bridge. A lot of the corners here, blind near 90 or tighter. And then you have that 2-stage fast-flying final corner. Very unique, not very many corners quite like that when it comes to street circuits. Now here comes Elfin Starfish through the S's in Sector 3, and these are really strange S's as well because they are just pretty much, these are city blocks, and we're just going from one city block, crossing over, another city block, crossing over, back and forth. It gives the track in this section a very Yankee flow, if any kind of flow at all, and it's very hard to keep everything properly set together through that. As Elfin Starfish rounds that 2-stage final corner and is now beginning his flying lap. This is Ryan Hurricane, and all priority is put on him to put a good time down, and there has been an issue already. Someone that was Dave Ewart, who went ahead and pulled over. Now he's back underway, but he went ahead and pulled over to get some clean track for both himself and other drivers, but now it looks like he has run over a part of debris, and part of the wing, the front wing, has come off of Dave's car, and that's no bueno. This is teammate PPR Venom, who's currently on the run. At the end of Sector 2, Wax pulls over. Venom's going to have a nice open run through here. But what we're going to do here, as Ryan Hurricane comes down to start his flying lap for your championship contender, we are going to go silent, and we're going to ride on board for a full lap around Singapore with Ryan Hurricane, so you get an idea how strange this track will feel in a modern-day Formula 1 car. And you saw right there, that lap attempt by Ryan Hurricane had to be aborted after he ended up catching up to XRRL Steele in the Mercedes, as Steele was setting up an outlap, and Steele just had no way and nowhere to pull off the track and let the Ferrari go. The Ferrari lost a chunk of time behind him. So now I wonder if they're going to be looking at Steele afterwards. Although in his defense, it didn't look like there was very much he could do to stay out of the way of the other drivers. He went extremely wide there, very nearly smacked the outside wall, but Steele is coming down, and we imagine that he will begin his flying lap very shortly here. Full 20-car field today, with his PPR Venom and Dave Ewart being the representatives in the AlphaTauri team. So we're going to go silent on board with Steele as he goes for a flying lap in the Petronas Mercedes machine. And that is a full lap on board with Steele, a time of 141.72. But that's not a very competitive time compared to most of the other drivers around. I got the chance to talk with Steele before we got into qualifying itself, along with several of the other XRRL drivers. Steele made it very clear that he felt confident when it came to the setup of the car, but he did not feel confident when it came to his personal ability to keep the machine off the wall, particularly throughout Sector 3. Right now, he is only 9th fastest, and only 10 drivers have set a lap time. It's not looking good. But what is looking good right now is the Williams team. Although Path is currently on cooldown lap, as is XRL Ultimate, both of the Williams drivers have the first and second fastest lap times at the moment, with a 137.486 for Ultimate and 137.642 for Path. This could be a great turnaround for the Williams team here, especially at a track that is so technical, where the driver ability may mean significantly more than the car. Now we're looking at Pinquo here. He's on an outlap as he's winding it down through Sector 2 right now. Ryan Hurricane, who is going to be contending for championship points, is currently in the pits right now. Now he is on his way out. His teammate, Mr. Anderson, has the 3rd fastest time right now. Oh, there's a stack of in the Williams team. It's not nice looking. But right now, Mr. Anderson has the fastest non-Williams time, so we know the Ferraris have the ability to set a good time here at Singapore. Now the question is just, can the drivers do the same thing? XRL Torpedo is currently in the middle of an outlap, and there is a Mercedes that has come pretty much to a complete stop. That is Steele, and Steele has had an incident. He has knocked the wing plate off of that machine after coming to a near complete stop there in Sector 2. Now he is finally getting back underway, but the fuel is extremely low in that car. Thankfully, he's very close to the end. And the next driver who will come up to get him, Smoothie 25, is someone who is on their outlap right now. As long as Steele doesn't end up blocking Smoothie in the last 2 corners, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Dave Ewart has invalidated the lap he is currently in the middle of, and that is not looking very good for him at all because he does not have a lot of fuel. Both Williams have retired from the session. They feel very confident in the times that they have set. This is Kinsey Retro, who is in the middle of a flying lap right now. Kinsey has just gotten off of broadcasting an extremely long and extremely chaotic dev race, is now here going to experience some of the chaos on his own now. Now it's Pinquo, who we're looking at. He's in the Haas. His Haas teammate Elephant Starfish has the 7th fastest time thus far. So Pinquo just trying to make something happen as he's going through these technical bits here in Sector 2. Be very careful there. Very nearly dirtied it as he goes through the bridge. He's catching up very quickly on the Ferrari, and that is the Ferrari of... I thought that was a Ferrari. It looked like it was a Ferrari that was ahead of him, but I'm wrong. That's actually a Red Bull ahead. And it's the Red Bull of Kinsey Retro who is ahead of Pinquo right now. As we ride on board with Kinsey and look out the back, and you'll be able to see Pinquo. Pinquo is closing in fast. He is putting the pedal to the metal right now. Ryan Hurricane and Torpedo are in the middle of flying laps right now, but the big focus that we have right now is what can the Haas machine of Pinquo do? Dave Ewart's in a lap, Smoothie 25's in a lap, Level 6 Beastian is in a lap as well. Around the final 2 corners, the DRS pops open. Pinquo, 3rd fastest time, 137.765. As Kinsey Retro begins his flying lap. This is Smoothie 25 now. He's coming to the end of Sector 2, and the time at the end of Sector 2 for him is a 105.222 as a purple Sector 2. So he's making things happen for the moment. This is Dave Ewart, who's a little bit farther back on the circuit right now. Only 12 drivers have set lap times, and as of note, Steele, the gap between Steele and Wax is 1.8 seconds, so there's a lot of time being left on the table by XRL Steele in the Mercedes, and we have to wonder if there's just a continued situation where the Mercedes is just too much and too divish for the drivers who are assigned to it to be able to properly control. Level 6 Beastian having a lot of issue, nearly completely locks up there in Sector 2. This lap has gone completely sideways for Beastian. Neither of the Mercedes drivers seem to have the amount of control that their cars need to be competitive here. Zola has invalidated the lap he is currently in the middle of. Dave Ewart comes across the line with a 140.010. So the Mercedes drivers are not the only ones struggling right now. This is Ryan Hurricane coming out of the final corner. What will his time be? To the top, 137.251. So this means that Ryan Hurricane is probably in a position that he can immediately retire the car from the session and not have to push even harder. He'll be in a decent position. Right now, we're watching Kinsey Retro. He's going through the last two corners right now. DRS pops open at the line. It's 138.582. So now, of our 20 drivers, 18 of them have set lap time. Zola is in the middle of an invalid lap and will have to go around again. Gabus John is in the middle of an out lap as he is trying to warm the tires up in Sector 2. That is a McLaren up there. I believe that is a McLaren of Torpedo that has slowed. Yes, that is Torpedo, who is currently slowed. Torpedo, not in the middle of a real flying lap right now, just letting everyone by. Torpedo currently has a 12th best time, and only the top 15 drivers will advance into Q2. So right now, XRL Wax is on the bubble. Dave Ewart, Steele, and Beastian are on the outside looking in, and the spread from 1st to 18th in the times is nearly 9 seconds, and the spread from 1st to 17th in time is still about 4 seconds. Actually, about 4.5 seconds. So talent discrepancies are coming into play massively here, it would appear. Zola is now beginning a true flying lap, and at the end of Sector 1, it's at 27.488. Run down through a lot of not quite 90-degree corners with long enough spaces between them that you're definitely laying on the throttle for a significant amount of time, long enough that it's not a nice slow motion from one corner to the next. Now right here in these technical sections, a little bit more of a nice flow as he goes under the bridge, or I should say over the bridge right now. The DRS pops open. 104.782 at the end of Sector 2, so it's a purple Sector 2 for Zola. He just needs to keep it clean because there's less than 4 minutes left in the session. Jabus John is in the middle of a lap right now as well. Wax is out there doing a flying lap. Beastian is improved. He's on the bubble now, 139.813, while Wax is still in pit lane. Wax needs to get out there fast if he wants to try and make it in the next round. Steele has improved significantly. He has brought it up to 138.994, but in the process has kicked his teammate Beastian out. Collie Boy is on the bubble with a 139.807. He is on an out lap. Zola is going to screw with it all. He goes up to 6th, 137.920. And now it's Jabus John who is the focus because Steele is now back on the bubble. Collie Boy, Beastian, Wax, and Dave Ewart are on the outside looking in right now. Jabus John 105.015 at the end of Sector 2. But the Renault seems to have a little bit of trouble putting the power down properly. Look at that Renault, very nearly goes all the way around, putting the power down while coming off the curbs and launched the car completely sideways. And he's abandoning the lap. Jabus John is abandoning the lap. He might not be able to set a single lap time whatsoever in the session. And if that ends up being the case, it will be big money for drivers like Collie Boy, Steele, and Starfish, because those three drivers right now are all in a position where they could get eliminated if Jabus John was able to set a time. But there's 2 minutes and 24 seconds left in the session. A lap time here takes about 1 minute and 40. I don't see any way that Jabus John gets out there and gets another lap going in time. Level 6 Beastian has invalidated the lap he is currently on because it is a mere cooldown lap. He is 17th right now. He needs to try and make something happen if he wants in. It's not happening. A very, very, very poor exit out of that final corner with only 2 minutes left. Unless he has a significantly large load of fuel in that car, it's going to be a long wait for Beastian, and he might not be able to set a time at all. Dave Ewart and Wax are both in the middle of outlaps right now. Wax, who surprised many drivers with a lot of the skill and ability he had early in the season, has tapered off a bit as the season has come on, and now he is on the outside looking in. Zola is retired from the session. Kinsey Retro retires from the session. They feel that they are not under threat, as Wax is now beginning a flying lap. Here comes Dave Ewart. He is coming down to it right now. He's going to begin a flying lap very shortly. This is Collie Boy, who is in a lap of his own as he goes through the bridge section. As Higgs bossed on, who is currently in the middle of an outlap farther up from Collie Boy. Collie Boy needs to hope that he doesn't end up catching the Haas or the Tracing Point ahead in a bad situation. And Wax has had a runoff. Wax has had a massive off. Now, it doesn't seem like there's any damage on the car, but he has gone completely off the circuit, and this means that his attempt at an improved lap is out the window. Dave Ewart is up, but he's only up by 5 thousandths of a second when he needs to be up by closer to a second and 5 thousandths. Beastian is invalid another lap and is still slow. This is Collie Boy on the run out of the final corner. Will he be able to improve his way back to the top? He does not. He is down by nearly 3 full seconds. Wax has invalidated the lap after that runoff, so what about Dave Ewart? The power is down in the Alpha. Real quickly, looking at Beastian. Beastian had enough time to make it around, but he's abandoning any attempt to go another lap. This is Elfin Starfish. The time is clicking away, and he will have enough time to put in one more flyer lap. Although right now it's looking like Starfish is in. Steel right now is in a good position, but there is still Collie Boy in the middle of the lap, as is Wax. But Wax's lap is invalid. He will not advance. Dave Ewart is on the lap also. Will Dave Ewart be able to knock Steel out? Ooh, very aggressive run through the final corner. But he does not do it. Dave Ewart improves, but only improves up to 16th. Steel is still in it. What about Collie Boy? And he's in the wall. And the Red Bull is in the wall. He's still laid into it. Very aggressive on the DRS and the RS on the straightaway. But what kind of damage is there on the front wing? There's significant damage on the front wing. One of the end plates is missing, and he's really struggling putting the power down. It does not look like this is going to be a good lap for Collie Boy, and he may have just eliminated himself from any chance of having a run in Q2. Very slow. In fact, he's only at 130 now, when by this point you typically want to be at 125. So yes, there's no way that Collie Boy is going to be able to make it any farther. Mr. Anderson gets pushed back down to 6th, while Higgs bossing on and on gets 5th, and Pinkwill pulls the 4th out. Elfin Starfish is still in the middle of his lap, but he invalidated and he is significantly slowed down because he knows that there's now no risk of him being eliminated from the session. And this is great news for Steel. He's been struggling with the Mercedes throughout most of the season. Now things have finally improved a bit for him, and it's looking like he will be able to make it into Q2 and should be able to start at least 15th. That is a great bit of news for the Mercedes team, which has been struggling all season long. Lowe and Torpedo, both of the McLarens are in. Kinsey Retro makes it into Q2. He's going to have the 11th fastest time. Trap Palos has the 10th fastest time. 9th fastest is Smoothie 25, 8th fastest is PPR Venom, 7th is Zola, 6th is Mr. Anderson, 5th is Higgs, Boss on and on, 4th is Pinkwo, Path and Ultimate 2nd and 3rd, and Ryan Hurricane has the 1st fastest time. It is Dave Ewart, Collie Boy, Level 6 Beastian, XRRL Wax, and Javis Jan will not advance into the next session of qualifying. Also, we have 14 viewers. I just want to say that is a insanely high amount for the XRRL series. I just want to say thank you very much. In the XRRL series, what they do is they take the fastest drivers in the entirety of XRL and put them in the slower cars like the Haas and the Williams, and they put the slowest drivers and put them in the faster cars like the Mercedes and the Red Bulls. It's 100% race length, and the cars are not balanced in performance, so the Mercedes in pure pace will have more ability than the Williams. It's made for some very interesting scenarios throughout the entirety of the season, and the biggest interesting part is that our current points leader is not able to attend today's race, so this means there's a chance for other drivers to make something happen. And here's something else interesting. Pinkwell set his fastest lap time on the medium tire compounds. If that works out, and he ends up gaining a decent starting position from it, he will have an extra set of softs in the race itself. That could make some, needless to say, very interesting decisions when it comes to strategy in the race itself. But right now, we're going to prepare to load up qualifying session 2. Anyways, beginning to load up the next round qualifying here at Singapore. This is the time where tires become the big important factor. Everyone needs to start worrying about, oh, will my tires make it to the end or will they not make it to the end here at Singapore? Now, the situation is, the tires that you turn your fastest lap on, if you qualify top 10 at the end of this session, those are the tires that you will have to start the race on. Unless we have a full lobby reset, and that happens every now and again. And here we are. It seems like right off the bat, a very even mix between soft and medium tire compounds. Medium tires are slower, but they're going to be usually a better option to start the race off with. Typically, you want to be on a tire strategy opposite of what everyone else is running, though, so that way you can capitalize on the misfortunes and flaws that the other drivers will have from their preferred tire strategy. If you start on the mediums and everyone around you is starting on softs, then you can run a lot longer and you can put the pressure on them and eventually pick up the positions. But if you're on softs and everyone else is on mediums, then you can just go extremely hard in the first 5 to 10 laps in a race and potentially overtake significantly more drivers around the entirety of the racetrack. This is Higgs, boss on and on, one of the faster drivers at the end of Q1. We didn't really talk much about him. He's a reservist, not supposed to be here all the time, but he is here now. Didn't have a great run in the dev race earlier today, trying to turn that around here, and I think just making it into Q2 is a good way to start that turnaround here. A little bit of a gear grinding, it seems like there. This is PPR Venom, though. A little bit ahead of Higgs. Venom is trying to get everything warmed up right now, not very aggressive on the throttle, being very conservative when it comes to what he's using when it comes to fuel. He may be trying to save to have 2 flyer laps rather than 1. He is one of the drivers on the medium tire compounds. In fact, as everything has gone on, it's trending to where more and more drivers are apparently choosing mediums over softs. I'm only seeing 5 drivers with soft tires equipped. And one of those drivers is XRRL Steel, and the other one is Elfin Starfish. Those two are out on the racetrack right now, trying to see if they can make something happen. For Steel and Starfish, the better qualifying position they get, the better off it's going to be for them, because they may be able to avoid incidents early on in the race. Steel pops up in the DRS. He is now beginning his flying lap. Again, soft tire compounds, the driver ahead of him is on mediums in the tracing point machine. And Steel might be held up just a bit by him, so it might not be a bad decision when it comes to strategy, but when it comes to placement on track, he may be very negatively affected. That's one of the Williams who has pulled over. That is Ultimate who has pulled over on that straight there. Not enough to be an issue. You can see Steel being very aggressive with the ERS on that straight, basically laid into it the entirety of that straightaway. Trying to make something happen. I know it seems like I'm just repeating the same few phrases over and over again, but I cannot express enough. It seems like Steel is very aggressively chasing the rear of that car all the way around. He is sliding the entire thing. The rear end slides a bit, and then he starts sliding the front to try and catch up. And PPR Venom has had an incident right there on the racetrack. And it looks like the car has got snapped loose and nailed it right into the wall there in the bridge section. That is not good at all. That was weird. So PPR Venom taken out very early here in the session. In session 2, that is. Anyways, this is MCR Path. Our fastest lap time thus far is Starfish at 137.975. Steel was now 139.397, but you have to wonder if maybe Steel could have gone faster if he wasn't held up by the tracing point machine. Alright, and here we are in the party with us right now. Alright, in the party with us right now is PPR Venom. Venom, go ahead and include your audio. What happened that took you out there in the bridge section? Venom, can you hear me? Alright, Venom, go ahead and include your audio. What happened that took you out of qualifying session 2 here? Alright, it's a shame. It looks like it will be a 15th place starting position for you. Do you think you'll be able to avoid any early race chaos? Alright, well, there's the word from PPR Venom. Thank you very much for sharing what happened. Anyways, as we turn our focus back onto the racetrack, this is Zola right now. He is on the medium tire compounds trying to set himself up to be one of the next drivers to set a lap time. Right now, 3 drivers set times on mediums, 2 of them is set times on softs, and Steele's time is not very valid considering he was held up by Zola's teammate Briggs for a significant period of time. Now Ultimate goes to the top, 137.517, so it seems like the mediums are still able to match, if not slightly outpace the softs. If you're willing to be aggressive with the tires here, Zola at the line, he will go up to 5th fastest, 138.736. So the spread in times right now is about 1.8 seconds once more. Trap Palos in the Alfa Romeo is currently in the middle of a lap, going through the technical sections here in Sector 2, goes through that old Singapore sling section, and now through the bridge. And although it looks like the car is very straight in control in that straightaway, when we were talking with Venom, he made a very good point. It's very easy where if you got too good of an exit out of the prior corner or too bad of an exit and you're trying to overcompensate, you can lose control very easily by just being too aggressive on the power and not focusing properly on the control of the car. Torpedo is setting up for a flying lap shortly here, although he's running extremely slowly all by himself. And this is Ryan Hurricane. Hurricane trying to make up ground in the points fights right now. As he rounds that tight corner there in Sector 2 and now has that little run on the straight. 104.573 at the end of Sector 2, so Ryan Hurricane definitely has the ability to put down a competitive lap time here. Smoothie 25 is in the flying lap. Higgs boss on and on flying laps as well. Ryan Hurricane actually looks like he might come up on some slow traffic ahead of him in these last few corners. I say that, it looks like they got underway just in time, so Ryan Hurricane will still have clean track ahead as he breezes through that 2 section, last corner, sets a time of 137.414. So Ryan Hurricane off to a very good start here in qualifying at least. This is Torpedo, who is on a flying lap, and he's making his flying lap on these soft tire compounds right now. Pops the DRS open as they go down the straight. Right now, the track is a lot quieter, only 6 cars out onto the racing surface as of now, and we have 10 drivers of the 15 who have set lap times, with Steele being the driver who is on the bubble. He is roughly half a second off from Mr. Anderson's time right now, so we anticipate we'll see Steele come out there and try to improve himself. Torpedo 104.897 at the end of Sector 2, and now we come to the very difficult and Mickey Mousey Section 3 here. A series of 90-degree corners cap off this track, and each of these 90-degree corners have just enough of a straight between them that makes it very, very hard to maximize the line and the run all the way through it. It's very easy to smack off a wall here and take them in plate or more off the front wing of the cars. But Torpedo's done it without too much of an issue, and at the line, Torpedo will set a lap time of 138.108. That's good enough for 7th right now. Higgs has retired into the pits, as has Kinsey Retro. Well, they've come back into the pits. They've not outright retired. Lowe is in the middle of an outlap right now, though. And Steele has begun his outlap as well. He is looking to improve. But once again, Steele is trapped behind another car. This time is the Haas of Pinkwo who's in front of him. The difference, though, is that Pinkwo is on a outlap as well. So, fingers crossed, both drivers will be flying fast enough that they will not harm each other's time throughout the corners here, because it doesn't look like either driver is laying off at all. And it looks like there's just enough of a gap that's opened up between the two that we should be able to see them both put down truly honest lap times. Again, Steele 139.397. He needs to improve by at least half a second in order to be directly competitive to the drivers ahead of him on the timesheets right now. Pinkwo has the 6th fastest time. He is there behind his teammate Elfin Starfish in the timesheets right now. Pinkwo just wants to make himself get a better lap so he can be guaranteed that he will have a spot in Q3. That's the McLaren of XRRL, who has just come across the start-finish line. Steele already up 2/10 in the first sector. But Lowe is trying to set his flying lap right now. Higgs, boss on and on, is in the middle of a warm-up lap as well. Torpedo is in the middle of a lap as well, but I believe Torpedo's lap is cooldown. And you can see right off the bat the difference in ability and setup between Pinkwo and Steele. Pinkwo has just run away from Steele pretty much across the entire circuit, but Steele seems to have a little bit better control of the car in the middle of the corner. Not so much in the entry or exit, but in the middle, and it's letting him close in on the Haas just little bits in the corners, but in the straights, that Haas just continues to open everything up and is flying off in a straight line. Can't even see Pinkwo anymore. He is so far away from Steele. Steele just has 3 more corners left to navigate, trying to improve and set a faster lap, as is Pinkwo. Real quickly, as we look at Pinkwo as he comes across the line to the top, 136.491. And for Steele, this may mean good for him. He'll be able to improve. He does improve, but he only improves by 3/10. So he lost a lot of time in Sector 1 the first lap, but it seems like the rest of the lap was not much of an improvement, and he is still the slowest driver of everyone on track right now. Higgs, boss on and on, is in the middle of a lap, as is XRL Lowe. Lowe is coming down to finish his lap, though. Comes around the final 2-stage corner, pops up in the DRS, and at the line, Lowe goes to second, 137.048. Kinsey Retro is in the middle of an outlap, beginning to start a flying lap very shortly, as Higgs, boss on and on, has the DRS open at the end straightaway of Sector 1. Higgs has 27.153 at the end of Sector 1, so it's not looking like a great lap at the start, but he should be able to turn that around. There is nothing but clean track ahead of him. Owen Steele just pulls over completely to let Haas by. That is the Haas of Pinkwo. Pinkwo is in. Oh, and Ryan Hurricanes retired from the session in the pits, as does XRRL Ultimate. They feel that there is no need to continue running here. Lowe and Pinkwo will probably be in a position to do the same thing here. In fact, I think everyone from Elfin Starfish up will probably be able to do that. This is XRRL Torpedo, Ryan Borth, Trap Palos, who's retired from the session now. I love that rear camera angle. But Torpedo is on an outlap. Smoothie25 is a driver who's currently on the bubble. He is 10th, but only 12 drivers set time. And Higgs and Kinsey both have yet to set lap times in this session. But Higgs is in the last few corners of the circuit right now. Now, if Higgs sets a good enough time, that will knock Smoothie on the outside look in, and Torpedo will go back to being on the bubble. Higgs running the soft tire compounds should give him a little bit more grip in some of the corners. Higgs sets the time, but it's only 138.883. He's going to have to try and go for another lap if he wants to make this happen. Pinkwo retires from the session. He feels no need to continue. Now, Kinsey Retro, he is going to be the last driver who will be able to set a lap time in this session. And it doesn't look like there's a lot of fuel in that Red Bull, so this may be his only true chance at getting it. He goes up to 6th, 137.885, so that's saying a lot of good stuff for the Red Bull's machine, the one Red Bull machine that made it in. Now Torpedo is the driver on the bubble, while Smoothie is on the outside looking in. but the time is running out fast. There's 18 seconds left on the clock. Will Smoothie or Torpedo be able to make it to the start-finish line in time before Q2's clock ends? 10 seconds left on this clock right now. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and Smoothie will begin a flying lap, but it will not be the case for Torpedo. Torpedo is on the bubble and will not have a chance to go for another round. This means that Torpedo needs to hope that Smoothie and Higgs are not able to set faster laps. Higgs is already up by over a quarter of a second, but he's going to need to be up by over half a second if he wants to beat Torpedo. Smoothie, though, is in the middle of a lap. What is he going to be able to do? Looking at Higgs and Smoothie right now. Smoothie at the end of the sector is up by 15 hundredths. That would be not quite enough to get him ahead of Torpedo, but brings him extremely close. Higgs, what can he pull out in these last little bits? The fuel runs out. He improves, but he's only able to improve to 11th. So Higgs is on the outside looking in, so it's all come down to Smoothie. What will he be able to do? Will he be able to knock the McLaren out of qualifying session 3? Smoothie, the only representative in the Renault team, while 2 Renault-powered cars of Torpedo and Lowe are currently in the race. Smoothie trying desperately to improve, and even if he can't beat Torpedo, he can at least try and start 11th to beat Higgs. In the third sector right now, Kinsey Retro and Zola are both on laps. When Zola abandons his lap to come to the pits, there is no need for him to push harder, and I imagine we'll see the same thing from Zola shortly. 34, 35, 36, and at the line, it's not going to be enough. Is it? Yes, it is. Smoothie knocks out Torpedo at the last moment, so moves Smoothie into qualifying session 3. Put everything together, and the last bit of track, he improved by a significant amount, so there will be one Renault factory machine that will make it into qualifying session 3 here at Singapore. So real quickly, as you look down the lineup, it's Torpedo, Higgs, Boss On and On, Mr. Anderson, Steel, and Venom, who will not advance into the next round. On the soft tire compounds, though, Starfish, Smoothie, Kinsey, Trap Paulos, Path, Low, and Pinkwo all advance. On the mediums, it's Ryan Hurricane, Ultimate in the Williams, and Zola in the Racing Point. Those 3 drivers will be in a very unique circumstance because they will have better tires at the start of the race. Preparing to load up into Q3 itself, there is anticipation that there may be a wet race scenario. Alright, preparing to load up the main race itself now. Main race for the pole, that is, not the actual race itself. 10 drivers have advanced into this session, and I do want to give real quick props to both of the Haas drivers and both of the Williams drivers. This is a track that definitely taxes driver ability more than necessarily car control, and the faster drivers, without a doubt, have made it in here. MCR, Path, Ultimate, Pinkwo, and Elf and Starfish have all made it into the session, as we see both of the Williams trying to be the first drivers to get out onto the racetrack proper. And that is going to be Ryan Hurricane, who is the 3rd driver out onto the circuit. Ryan just needs to keep everything together, have a good run in qualifying, and if he can hang around, he's already damaged the front wing of the car. It looks like he may have damaged the front wing of that Ferrari coming out of the pit lane. So Q3 not starting very well for your second in points driver here, Ryan Hurricane. 1 second. This is Lowe, who has begun his flying lap. This is Pinkwo. This is Ultimate. So already about half the field are out on tracks, but we anticipate Ryan Hurricane will come into the pits. I can't see any reason why you would want to run with only 60% of your front wing, especially at a very difficult and technical track like this here. Please be careful with that wing, Ryan. Zola, Smoothie, Kinsey, Retro, and Trap Paulos all have yet to come out of the pits. And Ultimate will be the first of the two Williams will begin their flying laps. Path trying to get a little bit of distance between himself and Ultimate, extending the gap, warming the tires up. And now the flying laps begin with 9 minutes and 30 seconds left in the session. Very aggressive on curb use by Path. But it's still clean, it's still legal as he's making the dive down into turn 4 here. Closing in on his teammate a bit, so it seems like Ultimate might be a little bit slower than Path in some sections of the track. In fact, I have to wonder, maybe there's something wrong with Ultimate's machine. He has invalidated his lap. So while Path was able to keep going, Ultimate has invalidated his first attempt at a lap here. Penquo, meanwhile, is in the middle of his own flying lap. He is opening up the throttle and ERS and DRS on the straight right now. Is a time of 26.670 at the end of Sector 1. And now Zola, Smoothie, and Kinsey are all on out laps, while Elfin Starfish is beginning his first flying lap. Ooh, a little bit of a lockup on the front tires by Penquo, but he is chucking it into every corner very aggressively. And I've already seen 2 scenarios where I'm shocked that the game hasn't penalized him for track violations. Every little bit that the car and every little bit that the track can give to him, he is using to the fullest extent. At the end of Sector 2, it is a 103.692. Penquo was setting up to a potential great first flying lap here. But the first driver who will set a lap in general is anticipated to be Path. Path is coming around the final corner, and it's 2 stages right now. And at the line, Path sets a time of 136.505. He'll be joined right afterwards by Lowe, who sets a 137.244. Zola is coming across the line next, but it will be to start a lap rather than end a lap. Penquo has low fuel. He doesn't care. He's going at it. 136.356. That's good enough for the top spot for the moment. The next driver that will cross the line for a flyer lap will be Elfin Starfish, the teammate in the Haas machine. He is currently on the run down through Sector 3, and the 90-degree set corners, he hits the wall, but I don't see any damage to the car yet. 126, 127, 128, 129, and he invalidates. Elfin Starfish invalidates the lap, and we'll have to wait a little bit longer before we see the 4th driver set a lap time here. Kinsey Retro is in the middle of a flying lap, leaning hard on the ERS and the DRS, and the straight at the end of Sector 2. It's a 104.713. That's not a great run, but it's still better than what 6 other drivers are at in the moment. Ryan Hurricane is in the middle of an outlap right now, and Ultimate is in the middle of another flying lap as he is going through the technical sections in Sector 2. But it's Kinsey Retro. We need to see if he will be able to keep it clean in these last 3 corners and get a lap in. Kinsey DRS pops open. It's good enough for 4th fastest, 138.026. But the question is going to be, what will Ultimate be able to do? Path, retiring into the pits after finishing his cooldown lap. And Penquo, also in the middle of a cooldown lap. Ultimate is on it right now. The fuel is getting very, very light in that machine, but he doesn't care. It's the last corner. And at the line, Ultimate pits up a time of 137.088, so he is still within half a second of his Williams teammate and still one of the fastest here to appear. Ryan Hurricane, 26.875 at the end of Sector 1, while Smoothie has invalidated the lap he's in the middle of. He abandons it altogether and will come into the pits to get more fuel in. He wants one more shot at this. Ryan Hurricane will be the next driver to set a flyer lap. Kinsey Retro is currently on his cooldown lap. We are not anticipating him to go faster this time by. through the bridge section. Very nearly clips the inside, but no fear in the Ferrari camp. The DRS pops open. He's leaning hard on the DRS in the straight. 104.122, so it's a purple sector 2. Now through these 90-degree corners, blind almost every single one of them and very hard to keep clean around. He's still clean as it's coming down to the last corner, which comes in two very distinct stages. And at the line, Ryan Hurricane is a good enough time for third, 1:36.704. Smoothie 25 is in the pits right now, has not set a flyer lap, while Elephant Starfish and Trap Polos are both in the middle of out laps. That is Zola, who's coming into the pits right now, and Ultimate, who is in the middle of a cooldown lap coming into the pits, as is Ryan Hurricane. As I imagine Ryan Hurricane's on cooldown lap. Yes, he is on cooldown lap. So right now, it's Trap Polos and Elephant Starfish that will be our focus. And the other question is, when will Smoothie come out into the racetrack? Because he's going to have to get out into the track sooner rather than later if he wants to set a lap time. Alright, there's Trap Polos now beginning his flying lap. Sector 1, corners 1, 2, and 3 all come one right after another. And that's a nice, moderately sized straightaway down into turn 4. You come out of turn 4 and it's a long straight, long by this track standards at least, with a slight bend in the middle of it. But it's a high speed, full throttle bend. 26.938 at the end of Sector 1 for Trap Polos as he now goes into Sector 2. This is Elephant Starfish, who's in the middle of his flyer lap. But here's the thing, there's a Williams ahead of Starfish. So Starfish is going to have to make sure this lap stays as clean as possible and is not held up by the Williams. It's a 27.183 for Starfish, so there is definitely potential in this Haas machine. Trap Polos coming around, and it looks like Smoothie 25 is still on his way out, but there are 5 other drivers actually, are in the middle of a lap right now. 104.447 for Trap Polos is not looking like a great lap thus far, but any lap is better than no lap here. Elephant Starfish still hasn't closed in. Oh my god, Path just kind of appears right in front of him. You can hear Elephant Starfish kind of jump off the throttle for a moment, and that might harm his lap. That shock of seeing the Williams suddenly off track in front of him. 104, so it's not looking very great for either Starfish or Polos right now. Polos coming around, he invalidates in the last corner. He invalidates, and it automatically invalidates him for the next lap as well. Trap might have just had his entire chance of saying a lap time whatsoever shot in the foot. Elephant Starfish is coming around to the final corner now. Don't invalidate like Trap Polos did. He's not going to. Starfish goes up to 7th, 138.004. But I imagine he could go even faster if there's enough fuel and ERS in that machine to do it. Elephant Starfish pulls over. He is not going to go for another lap. There's just not enough time for him to get around. Kinsey Retro has 1 minute and 5 seconds to get to the start-finish line in time. Ultimate has abandoned his attempt at going faster. Zola is in the middle of a flyer lap right now. Smoothie 25 is in the middle of his out lap, but the clock is ticking. Trap Polos, it's not likely he's going to be able to get another lap going in time. Smoothie 25 has 34 seconds. He will be able to set one more attempt at a flyer lap here at Singapore. He cannot afford to dirty it. Kinsey Retro comes across. He will go one more attempt to try and improve. But for Trap Paulos, it's not looking likely. What about Ryan Hurricane? He's still in the middle of a nut lap. He has the third best lap thus far. He's going to try and go even faster. But the clock is ticking. Will he make it to the line in time? The answer is yes. Unfortunately for Trap Paulos, though, the word on the street is that time's up, over, plow. And Trap Paulos will not be able to set a flyer time. What about Smoothie 25? And that is a McLaren. That is XRRL who has pulled off completely there on circuit. That briefly blocked Zola, but Zola does not seem to care. Zola is still going irregardless. Pinkwell to the top, 136.057. Path, 136.505. So right now, it's a Haas that is on the top of the timesheets. Zola will be the next driver to set a lap. Has he improved by any significant amount? The answer at the line is going to be yes, 136.720, so Zola goes up to fourth. Smoothie 25 will be the next driver at full pace to cross the line. He had a purple sector too. Trap Paulos officially retires. He will not be able to set a lap time whatsoever. So for Smoothie, he is guaranteed at least a 9th place starting position if he can set any lap time whatsoever. The Renault on that short shoot down to the last corner. The fuel is low. He does not care. The DRS open. Smoothie sets a time of 137.727. Kinsey Retro is in the middle of the lap, but it is a very, very slow lap apparently. He will not be able to improve whatsoever. So the question is going to be, can Ryan Hurricane do anything to Path or Pinko ahead of him? Will he be able to snatch a front row starting spot in the Ferrari? He does! 136.182! And that's the entire field has now set a lap, and Pinko will be your pole setter for the event in the Haas machine. So at this extremely technical circuit, the best drivers rose to the top. I think no one would argue that anyone in the top 6 are not deserving of being in those positions. So absolutely outstanding job by everyone who's made it this far in general, considering how difficult this circuit is. But now we get into the race itself, and it's going to be significantly harder because now it's one thing trying to keep the car clean, running around this circuit with the walls right next to you. It's going to be another thing doing it when you have 19 other cars you have to share the track with. But anyways, Trap Paulos does not set a time. He will start 10th. Kinsey Retro and the Red Bull will start 9th. Elf and Starfish and the Haas will start 8th. Smoothie and the Renault will start 7th. XRRL and the McLaren will start 6th. Ultimate and the Williams will start 5th. Zola and the Tracing Point will start 4th. MCR Path and the other Williams will start 3rd. Ryan Hurricane and the Ferrari will start 2nd. And Pinko and the Haas will start 1st. Excuse me, just staying by for a brief moment until we get the race properly set up. So just take a little bit of time, go get some water. We should be underway for the race itself in roughly 4 minutes' time. All right, anyways, we are here at Sabine. I almost said Sabine. I'm sorry. We are here at Singapore. We're not even on the same half of the world that Sabine is in. We're in the Eastern Hemisphere, not the Western Hemisphere. But anyways, real quickly, I want to go and bring you down when it comes to the standings, when it comes to the team championships, because one thing to take in consideration is that thus far, it's been a Ferrari dominance in the team championship with 144 points over Renault having 116. Excuse me, and with the biggest heavy hitter in the Renault missing the race, this means that unless something bizarre happens, it will be a chance for Renault to lose even more ground to Ferrari. Alfa Romeo only has 32 points, while Mercedes has 46. Scuderia AlphaTauri has 63, while Red Bull has 64. Williams has 75 points, while fifth in the Manufacturers' Championship. It's 88 points is the racing point. Haas has 96, McLaren has 109, and like I said, Renault has 116, and Ferrari has 140. But we are looking at full field today, and the interesting thing is that it's raining, so all the strategy when it came to tires and stuff is thrown out the window, and everyone will have tires to make it through the race. The thing is, though, that we are going to be looking at a very, very wet racetrack. Drivers will be starting on relatively cold tires here. It's going to be very difficult for drivers to get proper traction. We will likely see one or more accidents in the first half of the lap here. If we can get a full lap around here without going to a virtual safety car, I would be very impressed, and I would eat my flex tape. I'm not sponsored by flex tape. It's just something I like to say. Anyways, we'll be getting underway for the race properly in a few minutes here. It's going to be very interesting because Pinko and Ryan Hurricane, they've both had some good runs throughout the season. For Ryan Hurricane, he needs to have a great run so he can close in and maybe, if he gets really lucky, take the points lead away from Danny, while for Pinko, it's a situation where he would love to be able to fight directly for a potential race win here. Still waiting on everything to be properly loaded up as drivers are now beginning to ready up for the race, and we should see them spawning onto the racetrack very shortly. Don't worry about that noise, it's just me opening a window. Alright, and here we are. Everyone's readying up. 4 lights, 5 lights. And it's lights out, and away we go here. It's a good start for basically everyone across the field. No significant stragglers. But the interesting thing is that as they go through this line, oh, look at Ryan Hurricane. He has fallen desperately backwards through the field all the way down to 5th. But he has kept the car relatively clean. But now he's in a prime position for trouble. Riding on board Venom and Higgs here in the back of the field, and it is extremely wet with spray thrown everywhere. It's pretty hard to see anybody, honestly. Oh, and that's Collie Boy, and Collie Boy has gone into the wall there in the 19th, now 20th position. He spins around, and there is damage on that car. However, it doesn't look like anyone else is suffering from similar problems at the moment. And at the front, the 2 Williams of Path and Ultimate have worked their way to 2nd and 3rd while Pinko is running. Look at that dive by Lowe, and Lowe very nearly takes Starfish off the racetrack. Starfish makes a little bit of contact with Trap Hollows, and now here comes Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson wants a piece of this. Starfish nearly gets run off circuit again. The Haas is completely sideways. And who is that? That's Path, and Path has gone off circuit. And Path is causing a roadblock for the drivers ahead. There is problems on Path's machine. There is wing damage, and everyone is struggling to get by him on this very, very tight, very, very technical circuit here. So great start for Williams goes away before the first lap is even fully over. As Elfin, Starfish, and Trap Paula continue slamming into each other, Starfish is going to nose his car ahead, though. So Haas drivers are now 1st and 7th as Mr. Anderson and Trap Paulos are now the drivers in their own little intense battle back here. And this is not looking good as we look even farther back here. This is on board Torpedo. You can see the entire cluster around him. And Collie Boy has had another incident, and Level 6 Beastian has also had an incident as well. There's just no room for anyone to really make anything happen, and these cars are going slow enough that you would think that was a safety car. Now you see them start to open it up as they come down the straight, and now Path is going to come into the pit lane to get repairs done to that wing. Higgs is closing in on Torpedo, trying to make something happen. Kinsey has worked his way up into 11th, while 9th is a fight between Venom and Smoothie, and moved Venom up into the 9th position. Trap Paulos has a time penalty against him, but he is currently behind Mr. Anderson as well. A little bit farther back, Smoothie is going to lose a position potentially to Kinsey, and there is a little train of cars behind, and there may be damage on Smoothie's car. I'm trying to get a good view of it. He does not see any damage, and he is holding on to the battle against Kinsey. Kinsey's going to back out of it just for the moment, so that way he can save himself. But Smoothie botches the next corner. So now Kinsey's going to have the inside, but it turns quickly into the outside in the very next corner. Oh, and look at Torpedo. He's going to make it 3 wide. It makes it work perfectly. That was a wonderful job. Kinsey, though, is going to be the biggest beneficiary. He's got the spot, but he ran offline, and now it's Torpedo who is going to be fighting with him. Higgs is fighting with Smoothie, on the other hand, as they're making this dive down into the technical sectors here. This is on board with Davis John. He's at the back of this train of cars. Everyone fighting for any little bit of space. Everyone feeling like they're faster than the drivers ahead, but are being held up by the wet racetrack, the walls being everywhere, and everyone else slowing them up as well. This is Steele. Steele is there, and this is Dave Ewar. He's right there behind Higgs and Smoothie, but can't really do anything to any of them. Now they're entering into these S's. Very, very difficult to properly navigate anything through here. As Pinkwell has set a time of 2 minutes, .271. So rain really, really slows the drivers down around here, as is plainly obvious by the lap times we are seeing right now. And overtaking is at a premium right now. This is Elfin Starfish. He has worked his way up into the 6th position. He's going to be trying to stalk low. Orion Hurricane, he has fallen to the 4th spot, losing ground on Zola, and Zola is really lost ground on the top 2. Pinkwo and Ultimate. Ultimate is about a 1.5 off of our current race leader. Both of them trying to just inch away from the field. The farther and farther away they are from everyone else, the better and better it's going to be for them. Starfish continuing to stalk low right now. There's just enough racetrack here, just enough width in the racetrack here, that if someone runs wide, you might be able to willingly compromise the line and try and capitalize on it. Polypoi, Path, and Beastian all come into the pits to repair the damage that they've had, and it sent them well to the back of the field here. Meanwhile, this is a little bit farther back. This is on board with Dave Ewar as he continues to watch the battles between Higgs and Smoothie ahead. No one really able to make anything sensible when it comes to positions here on track after the first lap and a half or so. At this point, everyone's just trying to conserve and preserve the location they currently are at on track. But everyone from Wax to Beastian have had to pit to repair damage, and it has significantly altered their race direction. Ultimate 159.020. So the time is coming off, and Ultimate is also closed in just a little bit on Pinkwell in that lap, but he loses almost all that time in the first 3 corners of the very next lap. Rain still falling on a wet, slick circuit. And right now, everyone's just trying to persevere and keep their equipment alive So that way when you get green, everyone can start trying at least to fly their way up to the field. I love this camera angle. And a little bit of a hiccup there from Smoothie means that Higgs is going to get a better run going down this straight. We may see him try and make a move. He does not. He's going to think better of making the move into this corner. But it's showing that Smoothie is not all powerful in this little battle, and he is definitely weak to the drivers behind. The question is, will Smoothie make another mistake? And if he does, will it be enough for Higgs or Dave Ewart or Steele to capitalize on? This is a little bit farther back. Elfin Starfish is still in 6th behind Lowe, and Mr. Anderson is slowly closing in on the battle. But here's another battle to take note of, though. This is for the lead. Everything has changed. Oh, and someone has had an off there. Someone has gone around on that straight. Who is that? That is PPR Venom, and not only has he gone around, he has completely ripped the front wing off the car, and that is a virtual safety car. He's just overtaking Kinsey, but it's going to be a little bit difficult to figure out who's properly ahead. They were pretty much side by side when this virtual safety car came out, but I believe it was Kinsey. But PPR Venom is going to have to pit and get the entire front wing repaired. And we'll see drivers coming in and utilizing this for a free extra stop. Beastian is coming in probably to repair even more damage right now out of the 20th position, but it seems like everyone else is willing to stay out for the moment. There is no real advantage to burning through an extra set of tires this far. This is Venom. He is going to come in, though, to repair that front wing damage. So this will move Torpedo up into the top 10 positions. And I imagine we should be underway shortly. And the interesting thing is, Ultimate has willingly backed off of Pinkwo to ensure that he will not get penalized. And because of that, Ultimate is actually going to keep himself in the fight for the lead. He is currently about 3/4 of a second off from Pinkwo. So Ultimate versus Pinkwo is going to be the battle between two of the fastest drivers and two of the slowest cars in the field. A little bit farther back, though, Elfin, Starfish, and Lowe continuing their battle. Oh, God, the McLaren runs wide. It's neck and neck, but right now, Starfish is not in a good position. He's going to back out and fall back in line behind the McLaren for just the moment. Dave Ewart came into the pit as well. I didn't catch that. The Elfin Starfish right there on the rear wing of the McLaren of Lowe. So this is a battle for position right now. This is a horrible camera angle to showcase it, just saying. And it looks like he has gotten it. So Elfin Starfish is around Low, moves Elfin Starfish up into the 5th position. A little bit farther back, though, Steele, Higgs, Smoothie all continue to run right on top of each other. These are not for points paying positions yet. There needs to be more chaos to happen farther up in the field. Lowe trying to hold on to the back of Elfin Starfish here so he doesn't fall into the grip of Mr. Anderson. Farther up, though, Ultimate is lost a little bit of time with Pinkwo. The gap is now about 9/10. Oh, and that's a Red Bull, and a Red Bull has had an incident on the circuit, and that is the Red Bull of Collie Boy, and Collie Boy completely sideways on the circuit, significant front wing damage. He comes to a brief stop right now. He's going to get going, and Path is going to get back by the Red Bull, but things are looking very bad. Trap Paulos has now come into the pits to repair damage on his end. So nothing seems to be going well for a lot of drivers. Seal now has a time penalty for track violations. Meanwhile, closer to the front, Ryan Hurricane is now closing on Zola. It seems like Zola has lost a little bit of pace and it's letting Hurricane close in. Ryan Hurricane just wants to get the best possible finishing position he can and will let him close in on Danny in the battle for the championship. A little bit farther back, this is Higgs and Smoothie. Steele has dropped off them after Steele has had an incident. as the car went wide. He got time penalized, and I believe he has significant front wing damage as well. So Steele we will probably see drop off the track, but he is still on the racetrack, and gotta give him some credit for that. Higgs, though, now has no need to worry about the drivers behind. He can put full attention on the Renault ahead, and this will be the battle for the last points paying position on the racetrack. A little bit farther up. Lowe is falling off the back of Elfin Starfish, but Hurricane is closing in on Zola. The thing is, once you get to about 3/4 of a second of the driver ahead, then what can you do? It's really hard to capitalize, break that little bubble of about half a second to 3/4 of a second, and make something happen on the driver ahead. Ryan Hurricane really is going to have to rack his brain and not rack his car off the walls in order to gain a position. Mr. Anderson, time penalty. That's not what they wanted to see in the Ferrari team. But the good news is right now, only one Renault is in points-paying position. Both of the Ferraris are in points-paying position, so there still is good news when it comes to manufacturers or team championship right now for Ferrari. Of course, we're still relatively early into the race. It's a little bit over 10th of the way through. Anything could change. Ryan Hurricane continuing to put some pressure on Zola, closing in to about half a second, and then that gap opens up just a little bit once they get onto the straight. Zola is a little bit more aggressive, putting the power down, it would appear. Oh, and Venom has just dropped out of the event in an accident. And it happened coming into the pit lane. Venom was attempting to get into pit road, and the car, he completely misjudged and went right into the pit lane entry wall. And we will try to talk to Venom and see what he has to say about what happened there. But embarrassing, to say at least, scenario for PPR Venom. First driver to crash out in qualifying, and now first driver to crash out in the race, as his teammate is into the pits right now, putting on new intermediate tires. All right, and here in the broadcast booth with us, Venom. Sorry to talk to you again so early. First driver out in qualifying, first driver out in the race. What happened on the track there? Venom, can you hear me? Yeah, Venom, it's a shame to see you out already. First driver crash out in qualifying, first driver crash out in the race. What happened? It's a damn shame, Venom. Not a good day for you whatsoever. Hopefully we'll be able to see you get back to a proper form in the next week, though. Alright, very negative outlook from the AlphaTauri team and their driver, PPR Venom, who will finish last in today's race. Wax and Javis Don are in a little bit of a fight between each other right now as they make their way through the top half of the circuit. Not top half, but top bit of the circuit, now coming racing down into turn 4. Wax has moved himself ahead of Javis Don, though. A little bit farther up in the field, though, Higgs is putting stronger pressure on Smoothie, and Elfin Starfish has now brought himself to bear against Ryan Hurricane, as Hurricane has dropped off the back of Zola. Higgs and Smoothie are in a battle neck and neck but the Renault continues to stay ahead by just having better runs into the corners. It looks like this time Higgs had a better run coming out of that corner, but there's not going to be enough time for him to throw it up on him. He's right underneath that rear wing, but can't do anything. Now they get into these series of 90-degree corners. Smoothie is just not having as good of a run through these corners as Higgs is, but Smoothie is taking up enough track that there's nothing that the driver in that tracing point machine can do. He's right underneath the rear wing of the Renault. He looks to the inside. Will he make a dive? He will not. He actually gets on the brakes a little bit earlier than Smoothie, but maximizes that to get a better run coming out of turn one. Thing is, again, Smoothie is blocking the racetrack, and Higgs has to basically abort that momentum he had. Kinsey is coming to the pits to repair. So this is now a battle for points between both of them. Ooh, and Higgs nearly bounces off that outside wall there coming out of turn four. A bit further up though, Elfin Starfish has gotten by Ryan Hurricane, and now he puts his focus on XRRL Zola, and this is something that Ryan Hurricane would love to see, because if these two fight long enough, he should be able to get by Zola and can work his way back into the top four. In fact, Mr. Anderson is closed in on Lowe, and Lowe is closing in on Ryan Hurricane, who is closing in on Elfin Starfish, who is right there on Zola. So from 4th to 8th, we're starting to see a little bit of a stack up here on track. I mean, 4th through 7th. Nothing yet from Elfin Starfish, though. But Mr. Anderson is going to try and see if he can do something to Lowe, but Lowe had a much better run coming onto the straight. Starfish is just earned a time penalty, though, for track violations. That's going to make his charge up to the field even harder, and he hits the wall, and he bounces off the wall, and a huge accident, but the car is still going. Somehow, Elfin Starfish has kept the car going. He bounced off the wall just a little bit, lost control, went all the way across the track, hit one of the exit booths, and yet somehow, all four tires are still on the car. If he can just drag that thing around for another lap, he should be able to keep in this race. Oh, you gotta be more careful than that going through these corners, mate. Mr. Anderson has to be very careful getting by, but Starfish is still fighting on the straights like he still has a normally working car. I don't know if that's a very good option for him, though. Oh, Elfin Starfish. Not a good run. He was one of the few drivers making moves very slowly, very steadily, crawling his way up through the field. But an instant has just knocked him out of the top 6, and we'll see him likely drop even farther back. We may see him drop all the way to 8th or even 9th position. Meanwhile, Higgs is continuing to put pressure on Smoothie, but here's a different battle. Oh, and that's it! And he's out! He made a mistake on the straightaway, and he is now out, so Elfin Starfish is out of the race. Elfin Starfish knocked out of the race. An absolute travesty. He was one of the few drivers making outright moves on the track. This means that Steele will go back into points-paying positions also. We're going to try and talk with Elfin Starfish if he's willing to. But we are still under green here. Ultimate continues to hang out about anywhere from 1.5 seconds to 3/4 seconds behind Pinkwo. And here we are coming into the broadcast booth with us as Elfin Starfish. Starfish, include your audio. It's a shame to see you taken out because you were making moves that no one else was making on the track What happened there?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I was just plugging in the mic.
No, Starfish, you were making moves that no one else was making on the track. You were picking up positions and everyone else was just barely holding it together. But what happened that took you out of the race?
I was following Zola into turn 3 or 4. I can't remember which one it is. And I picked up Dirty Air, tried to save it, overcorrect myself, ended up in the wall. And going into, I'm not sure what turn it was, where I DNF'd. I'm not sure why I DNF'd. I just sort of clipped the wing, but it sort of just, the game just ended there. No wheels came off, no anything saying that broke. So I'm not sure why it actually DNF'd me.
Alright, well, it's a shame, Starfish, because again, you were making great moves, sneaking your way up through the field, passing just about everyone you were coming up to. But now I have to ask, what do you think the chances are for your teammate, Pinko, to win the race tonight?
100%. If he doesn't make any mistakes or any bad strategy calls, it's 100% his paces. I've never seen it on F1 before, how fast he has been. It's unreal.
Alright, well, again, Starfish, shame to see you get knocked out, but you put on a great show for us. And thank you for being willing to share what happened on the track.
Thank you very much.
Alright, as we return our focus, while we were talking to Elephant Starfish, Ultimate, who has been stalking Pinko since the race started, earned himself a time penalty for track violation. That's not going to help him one bit when it comes to improving up into the lead. So right now, the battle for lead is very firmly in Pinko's hands. He just needs to keep running defensive and not earn any time penalties, and he'll be in a good position. Meanwhile, Hurricane is back on the hunt against Zola, and Mr. Anderson is going to fight Low again. So Starfish knocking out of the race has now basically completely altered this battle that was going on between 3rd and 7th. Low is kind of stuck in no man's land as Hurricane fights against Zola, and now Mr. Anderson is fighting against Low once more. This is a little bit farther down in the order. XRRL Steel, look at this 3 wide on the straightaway. This ain't gonna work, boys. Someone's gotta pull out of it. And it looks like it's gonna be Steel because Steel has some significant front wing damage. Oh, he's not pulled out of it yet. There's Trap Palos there, who's just got into it with Path. This ain't looking good, boys. And that's Collie Boy, I believe, who is in the middle of that all. Yeah, that's Collie Boy, but Collie Boy's a lap down compared to all these drivers ahead. But Kinsey has had an incident. Trap Palos has caught up to them. And Path is right there behind Trap Palos. If any of them can get by Kinsey, it will mean that they will move into the points-paying positions. But of course, it's a really, really difficult thing to do. But Path probably could do it because Path is without a doubt one of the faster drivers here right now. But it's not looking good because Trap Palos is holding Path up, and that's letting Kinsey get away from him. You can see Path trying to get any little bit of racetrack available to try and get by, but it's just not happening anywhere on the circuit. Path right there behind Trap Palos. He's faster. He knows he's faster than the Alpha, but there's just nowhere that he can get by. And the longer he's stuck behind the Alpha Romeo, the farther and farther off Kinsey is going to run with this. Both drivers trying to get a better line through that final corner, but it looks like it's going to be Trap Palos who's going to open up the gap just a little bit. Path closes in on the straight with a little bit of help from the draft, but it's not really enough to change anything. Kinsey is just beginning to walk away slowly from these two. Meanwhile, farther up, Higgs and Smoothie continue their battle. It was a battle outside of the points-paying position. Now both of them are solidly in the points-paying positions. And the advantage continues to be in the favor of the Renault of Smoothie. Meanwhile, Steele continues to run on the circuit, and Path has had an accident, and Path has blown over completely. The Path's car has completely gone over. And that's a virtual safety car on the entire circuit. And Path has apparently dropped out of the race and has rolled over somehow. I'm not sure how that's happened. But we're already back underway once more, as Path is the third driver to DNF from the race here. And that's great news for Kinsey, because now he can just continue to open the gap against Trap Paulos and get away, hopefully, with points. At least that's what he's hoping for at this point. Mr. Anderson continues to stalk low, not been in a position to make anything happen yet. Kinsey Retro and Smoothie are swapping positions because Smoothie has come into the pits to put on a new set of intermediate tires. And try and get Path in here one more time. Field's basically begun to spread out once more. Smoothie not directly fighting anybody on track now. Mr. Anderson continues to be hanging about a second off of Lowe, and Lowe is about a second and a half off of Ryan Hurricane, who is about a second off of Zola, but none of them are really close enough to make anything happen unless the driver ahead makes several mistakes in a row. Everyone seems to have really calmed down. The interesting thing is we are now in a position where our leaders are lapping traffic, and Ultimate is trying to minimize the loss in time from that, but it's not working out nearly as well as he'd like it to. That's Collie Boy back there, who's really struggling to properly stay on circuit. Mr. Anderson closes in a little bit in the middle and exit corners, but Lowe has had a better time putting the power down, and it's letting him open up gaps. Ryan Hurricane, now he's once again about 2/3 of a second behind Zola. But he gets stuck here and can't really do anything and eventually backs off. Now he will have a little bit of draft from Zola going down this straight, but because Zola has no one in front of him, Zola was able to put the power down easier. And because of that, as we look out the back from Lowe, of Zola at Hurricane Lowe and Mr. Anderson in the background there, it just makes it even more difficult. And that's a yellow flag in Sector 1. Okay, must have been for Collie Boy exiting the pits. But it's just making it difficult for anything to happen, because the straights aren't long enough to where you can just flat out drag someone, especially in these wet conditions. So if you can just put the power down and not have an instant putting the power down coming out of the straight, you will hold on to the advantage when it comes to on-track position. the other tracing point machine is in a similar scenario, but on the opposite end of it. He has caught Torpedo and is trying to put some pressure on the McLaren driver, but is having trouble making anything of it. Higgs runs a little bit wide. He's trying to get on an alternate line so he's not being held up by the McLaren, but he ends up falling right in line behind him because of the nature of so many of the corners here. At the middle of the corner, there's only one true ideal line, so your lines keep crossing over. Now here we are. Higgs going to be on the inside, but he backs out of it. He's not going to send it on Torpedo yet. But he's betting on Torpedo, making a mistake in the next corner, but Torpedo does not. So Torpedo still has the lead in this defensive battle situation. Defense is everything right now. A little bit of a lockup on Higgs' part. Don't want to cut that corner too tight or you will knock off a chunk of your front wing in the process. Again, Higgs has a little bit of a draft from Torpedo going down the straight, but it's not to do anything with because the straights aren't long enough. He's a little bit farther back in the field. Mr. Anderson dropping off the back of Lowe just a bit, and Lowe not able to do anything to Hurricane, and Hurricane continues to hope that something will happen with Zola. But all of these drivers are kind of stuck in a gridlock against each other. No one's able to do anything. This may be Higgs' chance. He's got a good run. He's right behind the McLaren. Will he send it? He is not going to send it. He can't because Torpedo did a good defense, but Higgs is without a doubt faster than Torpedo. He just needs to be able to get alongside of him in a corner, and I think Higgs would have it. But Higgs is playing very cautious and very defensive here, and Lowe has just lost the position of Mr. Anderson. Look at Higgs. He closes in massively under braking, moving that car all around the track to try and maximize speed. He keeps getting right under the McLaren, but isn't able to do anything with him. You can see how much of a different line he's taking, and that's also helping keep the tires a little bit cooler and they'll last a little bit longer. Again, the intermediates that everyone from 8th on up are the same set of intermediates that they started this race on, so tire wear is absolutely becoming an issue for the top 8 drivers. This is a little bit of an interesting battle. Jabez John and XRRL Steel are fighting, and I think Steele might not be aware that there's wing damage on that Mercedes because he's still fighting and pushing on, irregardless. A little bit farther up the field, though. Ryan, Hurricane, and Zola. Hurricane got within 2/10 of Zola, less than 2/10, but had to back out right afterwards. Meanwhile, at the front, Ultimate's closed in on Pinkwell once more. And back in this battle for 7th and 8th, Higgs continues to pressure Torpedo. So a lot of very defensive-focused battles going on around the circuit here. Also, this is interesting, Trap Paulos is closing in on Kenzie Retro for the 9th position. Ultimate, Pinkwell, the battle for a lead continuing. as the top two drivers continue to stalk each other. And they've also put a significant chunk of the field a lap down. Everyone outside of the top 10 at this point in the race is a lap down, just to put things in perspective. And we're not even a full 20 laps in. Meanwhile, this battle for third continuing. Ryan Hurricane continuing to hang out behind Zola, but can't do anything. That is Steele ahead, who continues to run with that damaged front wing. And there is a Williams that has had an accident. I think that's a Williams. Yes, Ultimate has had an incident. Ultimate has lost the significant chunk of the front wing. And that means that Pinko is going to walk off with this race win, because that has some massive front wing damage. There's no way I can see Ultimate being able to continue to run like that and still be competitive. So Ultimate may have just tossed this race in favor of Pinko. The good news for Ultimate, though, is that he has roughly 35 seconds over third place Zola, although he's going to lose a chunk of it there. So he can pit, come out, and he shouldn't fall out of the top 5. Mr. Anderson is now beginning to put some pressure on his teammate Ryan Hurricane. Ryan Hurricane backs off from Zola just a little bit to try and get another run mustered up and going. A little bit farther back in the field, though, Higgs right there on the rear wing once again of Torpedo, but once again can't do anything about it. You saw Torpedo move over and then get on the brakes. And Steele has apparently left the session. That's not going to be good. That's his teammate, Level 6 Bestium, right behind him. But I do imagine that the AI will probably bring Steele in for a new front wing, and that might help him hilariously a little bit when he finally does come back. Trap Paulo's putting the pressure on Kinsey Retro. And Pinko has jumped into the pits. And Pinko believes that the track is dry enough that you can run on medium tires. It's going to be a very, very interesting thing. Ultimate is actually in the same position. He's also put on dry medium tires. And it does look like the rain has just about totally stopped. So we could start seeing more and more drivers jump into the pits relatively shortly here. Ryan Hurricane still right there under Zola. This is the closest he's been. He's going to make the move, but he's going to back out. He's not willing to overtax the car. You can see the two Ferraris hunting down Zola. Zola has inherited second after Ultimate had a little bit of an instant, took off a chunk of the front wing, dropped a bunch of time, and then came into the pits. Collie Boy is coming into the pits as well now to put on the medium tires. And he immediately goes off circuit as well. Oh no, and the two Ferraris! Both Ferraris involved in an accident! Mr. Anderson and Ryan Hurricane. And this is going to play havoc with Hurricane's chance of closing in the points lead. And we're still under green flag also. Ultimate will use this to take over Hurricane again. Oh, but Mr. Anderson has just dropped out. Mr. Anderson has crashed out apparently. And it's right there, and there's no rear tires or anything on the car. And Mr. Anderson now, and that's a full course safety car. Zola has put on the hards. Low and Ultimate are on mediums. Hurricane's coming into the pits now. Here we are in the booth with us, Mr. Anderson. You have caused the Ferrari and the entirety of the race much trouble. What happened on the track there? Mr. Anderson, can you hear me? Alright, Mr. Anderson, you have caused us much trouble. What happened on the racetrack?
Teammate spun and hit me. I went into the wall. That's what happened.
I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Alright, well, real quick, do you think... Oh no, and now Torpedo has just knocked off the front wheel of his car as he's failed to come into the pits properly, and Higgs is stopped. He's not able to get onto the track, and he's just gotten clipped by Torpedo, who's trying to back around. Everything has just gone completely tipped sideways and upward. I'm sorry about that. Anderson, real quickly, do you think there's any chance for your teammate Hurricane to be able to recover and make some points in the event?
Possibly. Don't know. We'll see what happens, but not too impressed. But I know I didn't it my own fault because I'd done the wing, I took it too fast, but wouldn't have been in that position. But that's what it is.
Zola has just crashed out now, and now Zola has had an incident, and he has dropped out of the event. And everything has gone absolutely sideways. Now Ryan Hurricane has his drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Zola has just crashed out of the event as well. We have had Mr. Anderson crashed out. One of the Renaults has just crashed out. Everything in the span of 2 laps has just gone completely upside down.
Ooh, Steele's lost it as well.
And now Steele has had an incident. Drivers are trying to get onto new tires, but the track is still apparently wet enough that's giving them trouble putting the fresh rubber on. Level 6B seem very slow coming into the pit lane. Mr. Anderson has dropped out. Zola has dropped out. The field still hasn't even come close to being properly gathered up behind the safety car. Only the top 2 drivers are there. Lowe has now inherited 3rd position. What in the world is all this? This has gone absolutely crazy. I can barely keep up with everything that's gone on all of a sudden. Kinsey Retro, who was a lap down, is now going to end up in 6th position. And I think he'll be back on the lead lap also. Davey Wart's in the pits right now, and he will be the last driver to take off the intermediate tires and put on some dries. And he will be putting on dry medium tires. Christ alive. Anyways, once again, thank you, Mr. Anderson. But,
no, thank you.
Oh, that was crazy. We're gonna try to get Zola in here and see what happened on his end. That's just suddenly taken him out of the race in such a chaotic circumstance here.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me.
Because Zola was... Yep. See you around, Mr. Anderson. Hopefully next week will bring you a little bit more luck.
Yeah, hope so. But cheers, thanks for having me. That was good.
Alright, and that was Mr. Anderson, the Ferrari, one of the 2 Ferraris who have now been knocked out of the event. Now the top 10 have all properly caught each other on track. And we should see... Well, the thing is, Dave Ewart is basically the equivalent of 2 laps down, so... Well, Jay Biscan is also basically a lap down. So, yeah, we're going to be under this yellow flag for a very, very long time. It's going to take a long time to figure out what has happened here. But this is turned around, it might turn out to be a good thing for the factory Renault team when it comes to the team championship, because now only Ryan Hurricane is in the top 10, and he's going to have to serve a drive-through while both of the Renaults are still in points-paying position. So everything has just gone completely upside down for Ferrari's hopes here. Dave Ewart is still a long ways off, and then here's Steele. Steele is still on racetrack. That's another impressive thing considering the instance he's been involved in, and ran a good about 8 laps without 40% of his front wing. Beastin is still on the racetrack, and he's actually properly caught the back of the field. This is Collie Boy, and he will catch the back of the field very shortly here. But yeah, Kinsey, who is supposed to be 6th, still isn't even close to the leaders. And Higgs is actually, no, Higgs is in 5th, and Higgs still hasn't even caught the leaders. And Ryan Hurricane is serving his drive-through now, I'm guessing? I think that was the drive-thru. Was that the drive-thru? Let me check. No, he'll still have to serve another drive-thru, apparently. But he is now on fresh mediums, and he's not going to lose any time, at least, because Higgs is so far away. But it's going to take forever for the field to properly gather up at this point. Like, we're still trying to get gathered up. Basically put, over half the field was lapped down when everything started going crazy. Oh, Christ. One last time for trying to get Zola in here, but yeah, right now only the top 3 are properly gathered up behind the safety car. Everyone else, there's a massive pack behind the safety car, but most of these drivers are all people who are a lap or multiple laps down right now. Ryan Hurricane will close back in shortly, and we will see Higgs will probably be the next one. Then it will be Kinsey, and then behind Kinsey it will be Trap, Paulos, then Smoothie, and Smoothie will be on the lead lap. So yeah, only the top 8 drivers are still on the lead lap right now, because Pinko and Ultimate under wet just put on a blistering pace against everyone else. No one else was even coming close to match them. And although we are under a full course yellow, we're still going to see, the top 8 drivers be the only ones on the lead lap. And we'll see Higgs coming around the line right now. Higgs is still about 7 seconds off the leaders, but he's just about there, and Kinsey isn't too much farther away himself. Now, interesting thing for Kinsey, Kinsey is equipped with hard tires, and everyone else who is on the lead lap has opted to run mediums instead. So with that in mind, it's definitely going to be an interesting scenario, to say the least. Alright, so everyone still hasn't gathered up. This has been a very long safety car because of how many drivers were a lap down and where everybody was basically on track. But Ryan Hurricane will have the freshest tires of the group, but he has a drive-through penalty he will have to serve. And then Kinsey will be in an interesting scenario because he's on hards that he will probably be able to take to the end of the race. Safety car in this lap, and the entire field still hasn't properly caught up, although it does look like Smoothie should be able to catch the back of the field before we get to the green. Oh, wow, this was an absolute mess. And then Steele is in an interesting scenario because I don't think he'll be able to catch the back of the field either. But, yeah, Smoothie is going to be coming up right onto a chunk of lapped cars. This is Trap Paulos. And then Kinsey Retro's in the middle of this mess. This is Higgs. And Higgs is ahead of Kinsey. And now this is going to be crazy because Dave Ewart's a lap down and he's going to have to get out of the way. Beastian's a lap down, Collie Boy's a lap down. They had to get out of the way of Ryan Hurricane, but Ryan Hurricane's gonna have to serve a drive-through anyway. And there we are. There's one of them that's Beastian who pulls over, but now Collie Boy ends up ahead of him. So that's an overtake on Collie Boy's part. Low, Ultimate, and Pinko, though, are all right on top of each other as they come to the green flag. And also, the track is dry enough now. We should probably see DRS engage in a few laps as well. So that might give Ultimate and Low a chance to actively fight for the race win here. Higgs, boss on and on, already has a time penalty. That's not looking good for him. This is Ryan Hurricane. He's going to peel across the front end of Collie Boy. No issue there. There is still a car, I believe that's Wax, who's ahead of him. They'll have to get around. but Hurricane has a drive-through penalty he will have to serve. So for right now, for Ryan Hurricane, his interest is to get as far away from Higgs, Kinsey, Trap, and Smooth as possible, so he can serve the drive-through penalty without losing too much time. And already Pinko has opened almost over a second and a half, actually, on Ultimate. And that is Jabez John, who is right there behind the leaders, and he doesn't seem to really care too much. He's just willing to go full on it, trying to make something happen and potentially get a lap back if anything happens to the top 3 drivers. Smoothie 25 is closing in on Trap Palos now. And Trap Palos isn't too far off the back of Kinsey. Kinsey is about a second off of Higgs, and Higgs is being held up by Wax, but now Wax is going to move out of the way, but now it's Kinsey who's going to get held up by him. No, he's going to move aside for them also. So Trap and Kinsey is going to get by, as will Smoothie. Dave Ewart's actually going to get by Wax because Wax pulled over for so long. We should see Ryan Hurricane serving his drive-through penalty now. Yes, that's exactly what we're seeing. So he's going to fall all the way to 8th. Trap Palos right there on the rear of Kinsey with Smoothie behind him. And all 3 of these drivers will have DRS in some form or another shortly here. Now for Ryan Hurricane, he has a very, very small advantage of this. He now has nothing but clean track ahead of him. So he'll be able to sit down faster laps than everyone else. And that means when everybody does eventually pit, maybe with the exception of Kinsey, because Kinsey might not have to pit, but when everybody else eventually pits again, to probably put either another set of mediums or another set of softs to the end of the race, Ryan Hurricane will make up a little bit of the time that he lost. It might not be all of it, but it will be a little bit of it. And he will also be able to avoid incidents that happen on track ahead. But right now, this is the most active on-track battle for position. Trap Palos right underneath Kinsey. And Kinsey, I don't see any way he's going to be able to hold on to that 5th position once DRS becomes enabled for the field. There are 3 DRS zones here on the circuit. One at the start of Sector 1, one at the end of Sector 1, and then one at the end of Sector 2. Dave Ewart, another time penalty for track violations. And now Pinko has a time penalty for track violations also. So hilariously, although he's serving the drive-through, Ryan Hurricane and Smoothie 25 are the only 2 drivers now who don't have track violation time penalties. Trap Palos made a mistake in those last few corners, and here comes Smoothie 25 on the inside, neck and neck, going into turn number 1, and move the Renault up into the 6th position. Now it's going to be his chance to start putting some pressure on the Red Bull. A little bit farther up, low. Putting pressure on Ultimate. Ultimate seems to have lost a little bit of touch. Oh, it's Kinsey has just lost the position of Smoothie. I didn't catch that, but it's happened at the end of the DRS straight. And now Trap Palos will have his best chance to try and overtake the Red Bull very shortly here. He wants to do it on track, apparently, before we even get to the straightaways. He is that anxious and that dedicated. Coming into a DRS zone now, this will be Trap Palos' best chance, but Kinsey has DRS on Smoothie ahead, so it's not going to be the easiest time for Trap. Not able to do it that time. But as these 2 fight, Smoothie is walking away. Ultimate have just swapped because Ultimate is coming into the pits. Trap has DRS, but he's made a massive mistake. He's not even close to Kinsey, so it's going to be a little bit longer. Ultimate, they're getting the repairs done on the front wing, and he is out onto the track now. Pinquo has opened up a 5.5 second gap on low, and it looks like no one is going to be able to touch him. Ultimate puts on the hards, and he will run those to the end of the race, more than likely. Ryan Hurricane, he's going to overtake one of the Mercedes. There's still nothing but clean track ahead of him. As Trap Paulos, once again, trying to find the way by Kinsey Retro. He's basically thrown away 2 DRS zones and not been able to make it happen yet. He has a third one coming up. But the thing is, Kinsey is still within about a second of lap traffic ahead. That's not lap traffic, that is Smoothie. But it's kind of hard to tell if Kinsey, because it looks like Kinsey's within a second, but the ticker is saying that he's not. Well, he's not this time for sure. So this time Trap absolutely has DRS on Kinsey, but that straight is not long enough for Trap to make anything happen. So this is basically an entire lap wasted behind the slower Red Bull for Trap. A little bit of a twitch coming out of that second to last corner. Now around the final one. This will be the best chance for Trap. He's a lot closer this time and has DRS, while the Red Bull does not. But the Red Bull is just better set up for the straight lines, apparently. He's able to keep the Alfa Romeo behind him without issue. Another DRS straight. This is the longest one here. And he is closing, but he's not really closing fast enough. So it seems like Trap has basically stalled out behind Kinsey, and Smoothie has opened up almost a 2-second gap on Kinsey, so Smoothie is walking off with 4th right now. Wax is coming in the pits, and he's put on soft tire compounds. It's a very interesting decision to make at this point in the race, but that's what he's doing. He is 31 seconds, though, off of Steel, as those two are fighting on a lap with each other. This is to put things in perspective. Again, only the top 8 drivers are still on the lead lap. We might not even see all 8 of them stay on the lead lap by the time this race ends. Again, Ultimate and Pinquo were fighting for the top 2 positions, and while they were fighting, they put everyone outside of the top 8 a lap down. Well, everyone outside of the top 10 a lap down. And then Mr. Anderson and Zola had accidents that brought out our yellow flag. Separate accidents at that. So we now only have 8 drivers on the lead lap. Oh God, look at Trap going really, really wide off the circuit there. So it seems like Trap Paulos, not only is he not very fast in a straight line, he also seems to be suffering a little bit from aero wake issues, and that's keeping him trapped behind Kinsey to where he can't actually do anything. Look at him. He's really chasing that car coming out of some of these corners. That Alpha does not seem to be very well set up for overtaking scenarios or defensive scenarios in the dry here. Real quickly, looking at the penalties against everyone, Higgs has 8 seconds worth of time penalty against him, while Pinko and Lowe both have 3 seconds, Kinsey and Trap both have 6 seconds, Ultimate has 6 seconds, and then Jamestown and JV Bar has 6 seconds, Steel has 3 seconds, Wax is 8, and then Collie Boy has 15 seconds worth of time penalties right now. The good news for Kinsey is that as Kinsey keeps Trap Paulos behind him longer and longer, the race will play more and more into Kinsey's hand. And Kinsey might be able to still walk out here with a top 5 position. This is the most active battle on the circuit right now, although it should be noted that Ryan Hurricane is closing in. He has nothing but fresh track ahead of him right now, except for one lapped car, and that is Steele, who is coming around very slow. He didn't even put up a fight against Ryan Hurricane. So Ryan Hurricane has nothing but clean track ahead of him for the moment, meaning that this is the perfect for him. He's going to gain a lot of time under this stint. Now, he's not going to gain all the time that he lost, but he's going to gain a lot of the time that was lost through his drive-through penalty. So he may still be able to get into the top 5 positions before this race is over. This continues to be the most active battle on the racetrack here between Kenzie Retro and Trap Palos. Ooh, look at that lunge! But it was a lunge made with a little bit of intelligence because it's actually closed him in on the Red Bull just a little bit, coming into the next DRS zone. But this DRS zone honestly is a little bit too short to really make an overtake happen on. We'll see him close in, but not in the position. I take that back. He's gonna do it. He shoots it up the inside. I didn't think he'd be able to have it this time, but he set that up perfectly. Trap Palos now has the 5th position over Kenzie Retro. Oh, and he runs away immediately. Immediately opens up a 6/10 second gap on Kenzie, and is only making that thing get wider and wider with every set of corners they go through right now. The thing is, Trap has lost roughly 5 seconds to Smoothie in this time. Now, there's no one ahead of him. That's the good news. But Smoothie has opened up 5 seconds over Trap. So Trap needs to push if he wants to get up back into 4th. And not to mention, Smoothie has no time penalties against him still. Trap Palos does. Good news is for Kenzie, he'll have DRS on this straight, and he can use this to close in on Trap and kind of hang on to that Alfa Romeo just a little bit longer. For Kenzie, the big threat is going to be Ryan Hurricane, because Ryan Hurricane is on younger and fresher medium tires, and he is going to catch Kenzie in a hurry and will likely overtake him relatively quickly as well, because Ryan Hurricane has already gotten by Dave Ewart without issue. And there's literally nothing on track between himself and Kenzie Retro except a lot of air. And then I guess depending on where they are on the track, due to how geometry works, you could say walls and stuff, but I'm not going to be that ridiculous here. Yeah, Kenzie has already fallen more than 1.3 seconds off from Trap Palos, and Kenzie is now within 4 seconds of... Hurricane is within 4 seconds of Kenzie, so we will definitely see Ryan Hurricane catch back up into at least the 6th position. No other real scenarios on track worth talking about. The field has relatively well spread out. Hurricane is just taking chunks out of the battle, and Trap Palos has had an incident. And Trap Palos has just lost the position of Kenzie Retro. There is wing damage on the front wing of Trap's machine. He has now fallen behind Kenzie, and now Ryan Hurricane is closing in. And damage on Trap Palos' machine means that now Ryan Hurricane goes up into 6th without issue. Kenzie goes back into 5th, and although Kenzie will likely fall back to 6th again, this means that Kenzie is going to be in a very good position. Ultimate now has another time penalty for track violations. Hurricane right there behind Kenzie right now, wants to make something happen and do it fast. Kenzie is on hard tires. Wow. Kenzie's not even going to try and fight back. He realizes that Ryan's way faster. He's just going to let the Ferrari go. Now, Ryan Hurricane is now 9.1 seconds out from Smoothie 25. I don't think he's going to be able to make that up. This looks great for Smoothie because Smoothie timed a perfect overtake on Trap, he timed a perfect overtake on Kinsey Retro, and he's avoided all the holdups there. He's now running all around by himself with no time penalties, while Higgs has 8 seconds worth of time penalties. Things could work out in Smoothie's favor right now. Trap now has a time penalty for track violations, but that's not really going to matter because he's going to be coming into the pits and will likely fall to 8th, the last car on the lead lap. Now your race leader, Pinkwo, is still in Sector 2, so for Trap, there's no real risk of going a lap down right now. And he, in the pits, they're going to go ahead, swap on a new set of mediums, and more than likely, they will try and get these mediums to last the rest of this race. We are over halfway through the event. Again, Pinkwo is just now in Sector 3, while Trap has just come out of pit lane. So again, I don't think there's too much of a risk of Trap going a lap down unless something else happens. It's still only 8 cars on the lead lap. This is going to be a very, very interesting scenario, to say the least. Ryan Hurricane actually is closing in slowly on Smoothie 25. He has slightly fresher mediums, and I think he's just a slightly faster driver as well right now. Kinsey Retro has 12 lap worn hards, and then Ultimate has 5 lap worn hards. So the race is likely going to fall back into Kinsey's and Ultimate hands to some extent, because everyone in the top 5 will have to pit again. The thing is, I don't know if either of them have the pace to really capitalize on it and finish higher than where they are right now. Ultimate might, but Ultimate's going to be held up by Kinsey once he finally has to overtake him. I don't know if we'll see either Kinsey or Ultimate be able to improve where they are on the track. One thing I will say, though, is that unless an accident happens on the race circuit, right now, Pinkwo is going to likely walk off with this victory. No one is even close to him right now. And Kinsey has apparently just let Ultimate go. That's a very strange decision. I'm not sure if he made a massive mistake or what, but Kinsey has now just let Ultimate by. He still has 31.3 seconds over Trap Palos, though. It will be interesting to see if Trap can catch Kinsey before the end of this race. Ryan Hurricane now within 6.4 seconds of Smoothie. Everyone has a pretty significant gap between each other right now of at least 2 seconds or more. So for all intents and purposes, the race is kind of calmed down. There could still be things that happen, but right now, for the win at least, the race is over. And although there is a bit of a battle regarding if Ryan Hurricane can catch and overtake Smoothie, I think everything else across the rest of the field is just going to be a matter of will drivers make a mistake or not. Right now, Ryan Hurricane is still in a decent position because even if he finishes 5th, that will let him close in a decent amount and take a chunk out of the lead that Danny has in the points over him. Danny was not able to attend today's race. Ryan Hurricane is second in the points. But if Ryan Hurricane can win, well, it's not going to happen considering how Pinkwo is. But if Ryan could pull off a podium or even somehow a win, it would probably let him either tie or take over the points lead. Trap Paulus just set the fastest lap time, 1:41.260. So yes, the track absolutely 100% dry now and has really sped up. gap between Smoothie and Ryan Hurricane now down to only 4.9 seconds. And this is the only real gap that's actively changing in favor of a battle coming up. Most other gaps are hanging around at a consistent level. So Ryan Hurricane basically out-driving a drive-through penalty that was given to him earlier in the event. Collie Boy, another time penalty. The gap between the Renault in 4th and the Ferrari in 5th is closing at a very consistent rate. That is the Renault, you can see just up ahead. Real quickly, I want to say something about Higgs, who is currently 3rd. Been involved in some racing pretty much throughout the entirety of the rain session of the race. But now, with some good luck and good strategy, he has found himself on the podium positions. So Higgs definitely in a very, very good position right now going forward. And Level 6 BCN has now overtaken Collie Boy. The interesting thing is, there are still battles going on for the 13th and 14th positions. But the battles are mainly due to these two drivers making chunks of mistakes, and it's just been a matter of who's going to make more or less mistakes before the race is up. It's a very bizarre scenario between BCN and Collie Boy. Meanwhile, Ryan Hurricane, now within 2.1 seconds of the Renault. He's taking out so much time every lap on the Renault ahead of him. Like, seriously, Christ alive, this is honestly stunning to watch. But it also should be noted that Smoothie is dropping off pace in relation to Higgs ahead of him. At this rate, I would anticipate that Ryan Hurricane might be able to overtake Smoothie in the next 3 laps, if not sooner. And there's an incident. Trap Paulos has had an accident. Now he is back underway, but there's significant front wing damage, and this might trap the driver, Trap Paulos, might get trapped a lap down by this. So we may only have 7 cars on the lead lap. BCN pulled over there to let the race leader by. Oh, there's significant front wing damage on BCN's part. And that's a virtual safety car has just come out. And the leader, Pinquo, is going to pit during this virtual safety car, get some fresh rubber that he will probably run to the end of the race. Lowe is going to do the same thing, coming into the pits for fresh rubber. What about Higgs? Higgs just got a time penalty. Smoothie is back here in the 4th position. We should be getting green again very shortly. So Smoothie is staying out another lap, as is Ryan Hurricane. So they're both going to inherit the higher positions on the track. Not quite the race lead. Yeah, Pinkwell still is going to have the race lead without issue, but Smoothie is now 2nd and Ryan Hurricane is now 3rd. Pinkwell has put on hards that will make last to the end of the race. Lowe has put on another set of mediums. Ultimate is now come up into 5th on the hards because Higgs is still in pit lane. Kinsey is still on the hards, but he's going to still be behind Higgs. And Trap somehow did not go a lap down. It's close, and if something happens again, he will go a lap down right there. Everything's going from bad to worse for Trap Paulos. Hilariously, he seemed to be doing better in the rain and while fighting with other people on track, but now, by himself, everything seems to be dribbling away from him, and that is the leader in the Haas, Pinkwell, that you see closing in. Oh, another hit on the wall. Pinkwell needs to be very careful. Trap Palos right now is the biggest threat to losing the race. Trap is going to move over. Trap goes a lap down officially now. Meanwhile, Ryan Hurricane, still on 2-lap fresher tires and Smoothie, is going to catch him. Now the question is, how long will it take for him to overtake him? Both of them rounding that 2-stage final corner. Oh, and Trap Palos has just crashed out! Not 100% sure what's happened. It looks like he may have hit the wall coming onto the track. Coming into the pits, I mean. So now there are only 7 cars on the lead lap and only 13 cars left on the racetrack. Meanwhile, Ryan Hurricane right there behind Smoothie 25, trying to make something happen to get into what would be the second position, but he would then lose second because he and both Ryan Hurricane and Smoothie will have to pit before this race is over. See, that's the Red Bull of Collie Boy up ahead. That will be lap traffic for these two that they'll have to navigate around. This is perfect for Smoothie because if he can time it right, he can utilize that as a DRS against Ryan Hurricane. Ryan Hurricane has DRS on the straight, but is not going to do anything to him on the main straight. Low, fast lap 141.076, so lap times are coming down. Ryan Hurricane gets a good amount of DRS down this straightaway. He's closed in a little bit, but isn't doing anything too active on the Renault. Now at this point, Collie Boy is actively going to hold him up. No, he's going to pull over. This will be a good chance for Ryan Hurricane. If he can get a good line out of this corner, he'll have DRS. That's exactly what's happening. Neck and neck for the second position. On the outside, it's Ryan Hurricane, and he will take second. So Ryan Hurricane trying to recover from an accident with his teammate, Mr. Anderson, earlier in the race. He has now fought his way up into second. But he will have to pit. I see no way that you would want to stay on the mediums for the rest of this race. Wax comes into the pit, and now Dave Ewart overtakes him. Smoothie 25 has come into the pits to take off those medium tires. But now the question is, what is he going to put on? There are 19 laps from the end of the race, and we know the mediums can last at least that long. And it looks like they're putting on another set of medium tires. Wax had the softs on earlier, and he's already taken those off. Now Ultimate's going to overtake Smoothie. So I have to wonder if maybe Ryan Hurricane will try and open up as much of a gap on the drivers behind as possible so he can jump onto soft tire compounds to run to the end of the race. Because right now, as it stands, when Ryan Hurricane does pit, he will end up behind Lowe, Ultimate, and potentially Higgs once more. So yeah, Ryan Hurricane might try to jump onto the sauce so he can overtake at least Higgs and maybe have a shot at Ultimate. Again, Ultimate's been one of the fastest drivers, but he's on moderately worn hard tires. But again, that's no guarantee. Hurricane might still go ahead and jump onto the mediums because the mediums will just be more practical getting to the end. We are currently 19 laps from the end of this race. Oh, and that's Collie Boy again. And that's a virtual safety car. But he's not the only one. There's another car that's gone off. That's Ultimate! And Ultimate, who was ranked 5th, has taken the damage in the incident. And Collie Boy is still partially blocked the racetrack. But now Ultimate has lost the position to Higgs. We are under a virtual safety car now for the incident. Ryan Hurricane is going to elect to not pit, though, but Pinkwell does. Pinkwell is coming to the pits, and they're going to take off those hards and put on a different set of tires. They're putting on softs, so Pinkwell is now on softs, but Pinkwell is now behind Lowe. Lowe is taken over second. Ryan Hurricane is in the lead, but he will pit. But Pinkwell is 9 seconds, more than 9 seconds, out from Lowe. Pinkwell might have just thrown this race away unless he pulls out some mad lad pace. And for Ultimate, this is a worst case scenario. Although it's not likely he's going to go a lap down, he will be more than likely last of the lead lap cars. And for the driver who's running second behind Pinkwell all this race long, this is a horrible, horrible development. This is an interesting battle for first and second. Lowe has much fresher tires and is trying to run down Ryan Hurricane right now. Hurricane, your current race leader, after Pinkwell elected to pit to throw on soft tires. Hurricane's staying out another lap. So I do think that Hurricane is trying to time it so he can jump onto soft tire compounds and just try and blitz as much lap time as he can to the end of this race. Lowe will likely overtake Ryan Hurricane on this straightaway here. He's got the DRS, got the ERS, and Ryan Hurricane's not going to fight back too hard. He'll let the McLaren go to the top. Oh, and Ultimate's just crashed out! But where? Oh, boy. Yeah, he's all by himself, though, at that. So now only 6 cars are on the lead lap. Oh, geez, you can see him completely off circuit there. That's a yellow flag in Sector 2, but that's it. No full course, yellow, or virtual safety car. We'll try to talk to Ultimate and see what happened from his perspective, if he wishes to share it. But now the lead has 100% gone in favor of Lowe. Hurricane not fighting for the win. He realizes he's not fighting for the win. Right now, he's just trying to maximize the use of the medium tires, so when he jumps onto softs, he can get every inch out of them possible. Pinkwell is on the softs, but the interesting thing for Pinkwell is that Pinkwell is going to try. Oh, wow, you can see him really chasing that Haas around. He's going to have to try and run down Lowe before this race is over, and it's roughly a 10-second gap right now between himself and Lowe. He basically will need to be making up about 3/4 of a second a lap, if not more, to do it. Pinkwell just at the fastest lap time there, 140.215. So he's going full qualifying laps mode right now. Now, Ryan Hurricane is going to be in between first and second, but outside of that, there is nobody else. Dave Ewart's coming back into the pits to put on soft tires as well. The interesting thing is, Wax, although he's several laps down, he is positioning himself to be taking over 10th in the race. So he might still walk out here with some points. And if not Wax, Dave Ewart might do it as well, because the two of them are still on the same lap. You see Ryan Hurricane not even remotely able to keep up with Lowe in pace. He's just letting the McLaren go. The interval between first and third right now is the one we want to pay attention to. It's currently 8.3 seconds on the timesheets. Only 6 drivers are on the lead lap. Kinsey Retro, who has had a very hot and cold season, trying to make this one of the hotter moments. Smoothie 25. Higgs, boss on and on. Pinquo, who is going to try and win this race after dominating the first 2/3 of it. Ryan Hurricane, who is just coming into the pits now, and we anticipate he will be putting on soft tires. Yep, the softs go on, and he is already out. Where is he going to come out in relation to Higgs and Smoothie? Higgs is coming around the final corner now. And Ryan Hurricane is still in pit lane, so Higgs will take over third. What about Smoothie? He's coming around the final corner. The DRS popped. Well, no, he doesn't have DRS. He's not close to anybody else. So Ryan Hurricane is ahead of Smoothie, but he's behind Higgs. So Ryan Hurricane just needs to try and run down Higgs before the race is over. While meanwhile, Pinquo is going to try and chase down Lowe before this race is over. The gap is 7.7 seconds between first and second. The gap between third and fourth, roughly 4.5 seconds. Only 6 cars on the lead lap. We have a reasonable, not a decent, but a reasonable amount of cars still on the racetrack, 11, but only 6 of them on the lead lap, and just been a lot of instances. Also, I just want to very quickly say, Steele, although he is running a lap down, he has done a great job. He is keeping the car on track all day long, and is setting himself up to earn points for the Mercedes team. It might not be a lead lap finish, but at this point, I think he'd just be happy with a finish in general. Now, the gap between himself and Jay Biscan is roughly a third of a lap, though, so unless something happens to Jay Biscan, I don't see Steele gain any more positions without someone in the top 6 having an accident. Oh, and I guess is what they call the jinx. Just as I was saying good news about Steele, he ends up having an incident. But again, he's so far ahead of Wax, that's not going to be an issue. He's still holding on to 8th, and I don't see too much damage on the car, so should be able to continue. Ryan Hurricane, meanwhile, is closing in on Higgs. This will be a battle for a 3rd step at the podium. While Lowe and Pinquo, the gap between those 2 cars is collapsing quickly. 5.7 seconds at the moment between first and second. This will be the first battle to really pay attention to. Ryan Hurricane versus Higgs, and then Pinquo versus Lowe. Although in the case of Pinquo versus Lowe, Pinquo will have more worn tires than Ryan will when Ryan tries to make his overtakes on Higgs. I imagine if Ryan can keep this together, doesn't make any mistakes, we should see him overtake the tracing point in about a lap and a half, if not 2 laps. Playing very fast and loose with track penalties here. And speaking of track penalties, time penalties. This is an interesting factor. Pinquo has 6 seconds of time penalties while Lowe only has 3. So not only will Pinquo have to get ahead of Lowe, he needs Lowe to either get another 3 seconds worth of time penalties, or Pinquo needs to pass Lowe and then get 3 seconds ahead of the McLaren if he wants to win the race. Ryan Hurricane right there behind Higgs, just trying to be smart when it comes to deciding when to make the move. He's got the DRS now. Higgs not really able to do much to fight back. And under braking, move Ryan Hurricane easily up into the 3rd position now. 26.4 seconds between himself and 2nd, so there's no way Ryan Hurricane will finish higher than 3rd unless one of the top 2 crash out. But considering that he was involved in an accident earlier, this is going to be monumental for Ryan. So now the gap is between 1st and 2nd, and how quickly can Pinquo catch Lowe? And then, how will time penalties play out between the top 2 drivers? 4.5 seconds between 1st and 2nd at the line. But of note, Pinquo is going to have worn softs. Ryan Hurricane was on extremely fresh softs when he overtook Higgs. Pinquo is going to have significantly more worn softs than Hurricane did, so I don't think it's going to be as easy. But Pinquo has been, without a doubt, the fastest driver all day. He's not made a single mistake, except for the track violations. But the worst part is, the track violations might end up being what kill him. "12 laps to go." At 12? Actually, like 12 and a half. It'll be 12 at the line. But he's gaining the point. Oh, wow, look at Pinquo really chasing that Haas all the way around. So you can't say he's not working for it. The problem is, the more and more he does that, the quicker and quicker he's going to put wear on the tires. The less and less time he's going to have to catch Lowe and then overtake him. Dave Ewarts coming out of the pits again, putting on softs that he will run to the end, trying to go for potentially fastest lap of the race. .3 seconds at the line between Pinquo and Lowe. The gap is still shrinking, but is it shrinking fast enough? Not a very good run onto this DRS straight. Or another time penalty. There's not really much to say on the racetrack or anything going on. Right now, we're just following Pinquo. We're going to go silent in the booth and just hear him for the next several laps as he attempts to run down Low. I will break in if anything else of note happens. 10 laps to go. And the gap is still about 3 3/4 between first and second. Pinkwell basically needs to close in. There's a Mercedes that's gone off circuit. That is Beastian. But it looks like he's getting underway and will not be too much of an issue for anyone else on track. But that is Pinkwell, who has come on track right behind him. He's going to want that Mercedes to get out of the way immediately so he doesn't hold him up, and that's exactly what he does. Of note, Ryan Hurricane has actually closed in on Pinkwell just a little bit. 3.2 seconds is the gap. 3.3 seconds is the gap between Pinkwell and Lowe. Lowe is on slightly more worn medium tires, so they're slower tires, but Pinkwell is burning the rubber off of his softs, trying to catch McLaren in first. That McLaren you saw on your screen is your current race leader. Pinkwell dominated the first 2/3 of this race, led pretty much every lap, but under a virtual safety car, elected to come in and throw on a set of softs to the end, while Lowe, who was running second, elected to stay out on track. And in turn, has put the McLaren in the lead, and Pinkwell is running his heart out to try and run down the leader, but the clock is ticking away. And I won't lie, the race may have slipped from Pinkwell's fingers by result of just a poor pit strategy on his part. The rear tires, you can see, are really getting away from him. He's really chasing the car. He's actually now beginning to lose time to Lowe in the lead. Pinkwell needs to be careful not to destroy the car. Right now, at this point, it'd be more important to bring home a second than to total the machine. The gap is now opening in favor of Lowe. Ryan Hurricane has actually closed in very quickly on Pinkwell, and I have to wonder if maybe our second place driver has burned off the rear tires in that Haas. for now, the race seems to be over when it comes to positions. Where everyone is on track right now, we are anticipating they will finish there. Now, there might be some exceptions regarding time penalties. If Ryan Hurricane can get within 6 seconds of Pinkwell, he will overtake that driver. Smoothie is in position that he will take 4th from Higgs because Higgs has 6 seconds worth of penalty while Smoothie has none. Outside of that, though, we are not anticipating any other changes in the lineup. Right now, the only change we anticipate to show up, if the race was to finish where everyone is right now, would be in the favor of Smoothie overtaking Higgs. But it seems very clear at this point, though, that Lowe is going to walk off with this win, unless he makes a mistake, which is very possible considering how tricky the circuit is. But it looks like Lowe is going to walk off with this win. A little bit of a hiccup going into that chicane, but nothing too terrifying. Kinsey Retro has elected to come into the pits and jump out to spawn soft tires. So he's going to be going for the fastest lap. Now, the funny thing is, if he makes a mistake, he will go a lap down to Lowe, and we may only have 5 drivers finish on the lead lap. So Kinsey better hope he can put down the fastest laps possible now. That was Dave Ewart who pulled over there on that straight to let Kinsey and Lowe go and not obstruct them. Currently following Kinsey Retros, he's going to try and set the fastest lap of this race. We're going to just ride on board with the Red Bull silently for the next lap to see if he can do it. Bring up the telemetry as well. And there you are, fastest lap of the day thus far, 139.175 from Kinsey Retro. And he's opened up a nice little gap on XRRL, so it's not likely he's going to go a lap down. Now, here's something else of note. Pinkwell still has 6 seconds worth of time penalties. A second. Ryan Hurricane has none. So right now, Ryan Hurricane is setting himself up to finish second by the end of this race. I don't think anyone anticipated that happening. But that's the reality we're looking at right now. Ryan Hurricane is going to come back and finish second today. And if he does that, it will be an amazing drive after being involved in the accident and his teammate as the track is going from wet to dry. Again, race isn't over yet, especially considering how tight the walls here are at Singapore. Things could still change, but crazy. This is not a race that Danny wanted to miss, and our points leader missing this race is just potentially blown a hole in his championship lead. We'll go ahead and disable the tickers. Also, good job for Kinsey. It's looking like he will walk out here with the fastest lap of the race. Jabez John also got out and put on some soft tires as well. So he will try and fight against Kinsey Retro to get that fastest lap. So there is a battle for one more point still up in the air between Kinsey and Jabez over who will get the fastest lap of this race at the end here. Jabez will have a little bit less fuel in the tank than Kinsey did. Oh, and that's Steele. And Steele has had an incident on track. He's trying to get it going again. And there's your leader, Lowe, who's just come around right there. Okay, this is interesting. Look at this. Ryan Hurricane is catching Pinkwell on natural on-track ability. Pinkwell has burned such a hole through his tires, he's going to overtake Pinkwell on racetrack. And that's lap traffic ahead that's going to factor in, I think. And there's another one, and that's BCN, and BCN has now had an accident as well. And everything's just suddenly going sideways again. But Ryan Hurricane is now second, on track by virtue of an on-track overtake. And Steele has just gone off again. He's back on the way again, but now all of a sudden both Mercedes had something happen to him in the last few laps of the event. And Pinkwell, on track, loses the position against Ryan Hurricane. It's not even a penalty now. It's an actual on-track loss of position. He burned that much of a hole in his softs in 12 laps. He did more damage than what Ryan Hurricane has by just cruising normally in 15 laps. Steele, another instant going off circuit there. And now there's a threat that Steele might end up losing 8th to Wax if he can make it around. .35-lap war and hard tires, and just a little bit of mistake, and it looks like Steele continuing to struggle, but if he can just keep the car together, he should still be able to walk out here with points. Higgs has had an incident. He's gone off. And Higgs has gone off and will lose 5th, 4th on track to Smoothie. Now he's so far ahead of Kinsey that shouldn't be an issue. He's a minute and some change ahead of Kinsey, so he's still going to walk out here with 5th. But, oh, Christ, this entire, even in the last few laps, things are still going crazy. James John is trying to set the fastest lap and beat Kinsey's attempt at it. Will he be able to beat Kinsey for fastest lap of the race? Coming to the line. Yes, he does. James John, fastest lap, 139.155. Steele, Ewart, and Beastian have all jumped on the pit lane, so Steele, Ewart, and Beastian are now all going to try and beat Javis for the fastest lap in the race. And for Smoothie 25, this is looking very good because it looks like him and Ryan Hurricane will both get a free point for finishing the race without time penalties, so good job for both of them. Pinko at this point is struggling like mad. He just wants to keep this car alive to the end of this race. That is a Mercedes. I believe that is Beastian. Yeah, that's Beastian right behind Pinko. And just put in perspective how damaged Pinko's tires are, despite Pinko being the fastest driver all day long, Beastian was able to keep pace with him for some time. So, yeah, this is not looking great. Again, unless Lowe gets another 3-second time penalty or has an accident, he is guaranteed to walk out here with the race win. He just needs to finish this lap. Beastian 5 laps down. It's looking likely that Beastian might not even get points because he won't even properly finish the race's 90% mark. Real quickly as I bring up a calculator. Yeah, 54.9. So he'd need to complete 55 laps. So BCN is going to be very close, but BCN might be able to still get that 1 point for fastest lap of everyone outside the top 10. So everyone here on track should still walk out here with at least 1 point by the looks of it. But for XRLO, he's going to walk out here with the most points. He brings in McLaren, slings it out of that final corner, and will win here at Singapore. Here comes Ryan Hurricane. And despite having an accident, will take a chunk out of the points leader's lead. He will finish second. And Pinko, those fireworks that he hears should have been for him crossing the line first, but he will still come home third. But for the rest of his career, this event is going to haunt him. A what if. Smoothie 25 is coming around now. Been very good, clean race for him. He is going to finish in the 4th position. Outstanding job on his part. And for Higgs, it will be 5th. Great job on Higgs' part. Although he's made a mistake, he's minimized them, and it will keep him on the lead lap. He will finish 5th. And Kinsey Retro, it's going to be a long time until he gets around properly to the line. Ooh, the time penalty's right at the end there. Pinko leaves the session out of frustration. But Kinsey, we just want to say congratulations on him. He will finish this race, I believe, on the lead. It's going to be iffy. He might end up going unofficially a lap down because of all the time penalties he has against him. Fastest lap, Javis John had the fastest lap. Here's your answer. But yeah, good job to Kinsey for the 6th. But really, the real congratulations needs to go to XRL Low for taking home the win and capitalizing on the poor strategy choice by Pinko, and then to Ryan Hurricane for just being calmer on soft tires, and despite running them passionately, he did not burn them out and ended up overtaking Pinko naturally on track. Congratulations to XRL Low. All right, and here is your final race results, as I'm going to try and invite our top 2 finishers into the party to see what they have to say. All right. And coming into the party right now is XRL Low. Low, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Low, I just want to say very quickly, congratulations on your win. Ryan Hurricane, just stand by for 1 second. I do want to interview you. But Low, congratulations on a win. How did you know to pull off that strategy to beat Penkuo at the end?
Oh, man. You know what? I had a virtual safety at the end, and I knew I was coming in. I was coming in a little bit, like 2 laps earlier. And basically, I made the decision to pit a little bit early on the virtual, and this is the end of result. I kept up the pace and just kept pushing and pushing. Ryan was coming. Penku was coming. I knew Penku made the wrong decision on the tires, and I just had to keep focused, keep pushing, head down, and we got the win.
Well, you did an outstanding job. Only 6 drivers finished on the lead lap. And you were one of those drivers who were able to somehow keep those lead lap runs alive the entire time. So good job there.
Thank you so much, Legend. I really appreciate that. And Ryan, good race, man.
Yeah, GG,
Hats off to you, man. You were coming. I saw ya.
All right, and now Ryan Hurricane, I want to talk about your day. Potential driver of the day stuff right there. You got wrecked by your teammate in the rain, and then was able to come back to lead a lap, and then end up finishing second in the end. How the heck did you pull any of that off?
I'm not sure. I was pretty garbage in the wet. I'm not good at no assists yet in the wet. But I actually think I took my teammate out, so I'm sorry for that, because I had tapped the back of Zola in front of me, so that set me off, and then as I went to put the power down, I just spun, and I spun right into the way of my teammate.
So that's what happened.
Yep. But other than that, I plan on going mediums all the way to the end, and I saw that Penku had pitted softs and he was gaining, and Low, I knew Low was he was going to drive away. I didn't think I'd be able to keep up with him if I stuck it out, so I just decided to pit for softs and try and run everybody back down, hoping that somebody made a mistake, but no one did, unfortunately.
There, did it earlier.
Well, you did an outstanding job, and then the big thing, Ryan Hurricane, is because your biggest rival and the points leader, Danny JJ02, did not start this race, and you came home second with no time penalties against you. This very firmly puts you back into a direct fight for the title, so good job on that as well.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out.
Good job, Ryan.
Looking forward to next race. Good job to you, dude. You deserve that win.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much.
All right, well, that will pretty much wrap up our broadcast here from Singapore for the XRRL race. Earlier, I asked the drivers in the Discord, hey, do you guys think you'll be able to put on a better race than the dev guys? I think the end result is no. It was about the same result. There were more drivers, but there are also more retirements. But still, I think that may be more of a case of running Singapore in the wet more than anything else. But still a very, very interesting race, to say the least. But it is time to wrap everything up. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. UK time, Kinsey Retro, who finished 6th today, somehow on the lead lap, he will be covering the X1 race on the main channel. I will be covering the X3 race on the alternate channel. And then at 8 p.m. UK time tomorrow, the X2 race will be covered on the main channel. And all of those will be based off UK time. So 5 p.m. for X1 and X3, and 8 p.m. for X2 UK time. But anyways, that's it from me here as we wrap up our broadcast at Singapore. A very interesting race, interesting qualifying session. And it's time. We'll see you in a week's time for the Realistic Racing Series. Until then, farewell.